Chapter 1060. Two Supreme Divine Powers. Just like Qin Shijun, Lu Tianping had also mastered two supreme divine powers. Not only the Flame Coffin and Kong Qianjun, but also Chu Hailan and Yuan Feixiang had never thought that Lu Ping had mastered two natal supreme divine powers. Even Chu Hailan himself had only reached the threshold of mastering the second supreme divine power. He was only one step away from mastering it. What kind of magic art was this? They could only see that this magic art enhanced the Sea of All Rivers technique. Was it really a kind of supreme divine power that was specially used for auxiliary purposes? If so, it was really a pity. They had never heard of anyone cultivating an auxiliary magic art to the level of a supreme divine power and using it as their natal supreme divine power. However, Qin Shijun and the others were the cream of the crop among their peers in terms of cultivation base, strength, knowledge, and so on. Naturally, they wouldn't believe that Lu Ping had cultivated a purely auxiliary innate supreme skill. However, they couldn't see through the essence of the skill. They could only sense that when the skill was cast, it gave them a feeling that time and space were in disarray. Just like Lu Ping's supreme sword skill. Under the effects of this supreme sword skill, the duration of the supreme sword skill's power seemed to have doubled. Only when the supreme sword skill dissipated did the crowd realize that the duration of the supreme sword skill didn't increase. Instead, the supreme sword skill's power had been greatly enhanced without them noticing. And this feeling of disorientation in time and space left a deep impression on the crowd. Qin Shijun said in surprise, "Brother Lu, what kind of magic art is this? It's so wonderful." Lu Ping smiled. When he was about to speak, he saw a body that was almost no different from a human cultivator appear in front of them, but they felt an unparalleled pressure from this body. They knew that the person in front of them was the Azura who had never shown up. Everyone's heart sank. Even though everyone was extremely excited about facing an Azura and their battle-intent sword, and they even worked together to resolve the Azura's telekinesis technique twice, when they really faced an Azura, their anxiety and nervousness quickly rose, suppressing their raging battle intent in one fell swoop. The Azura seemed to be able to see through their thoughts. He smiled evilly like a human, opened his hands, and suddenly put them together. A wild wave suddenly surged toward them. The Flame Spirit Coffin and Kong Qianjuan's expressions changed dramatically. They both patted their chests, and a Luan bird with 3 fiery feathers and a Kuan fish with 2 wing-like fins under its abdomen rose from behind them. They were the Luan and Kuan fish, which were the Dharma shapes of Luan and Kuan after they had stepped into the Dharma Xiang stage. The Luan Dharma idol shook its 3 flaming feathers, and the fire bead in the Flame Spirit Coffin's hand suddenly burst into flames, breaking through the oncoming raging waves. The Kuan fish Dharma idol waved its tail, and like a fish swimming upstream, it easily swept away the impact of the raging waves and stood at the edge of the passageway. The two heaved a long sigh of relief. When they turned to look at the others, their expressions changed. They saw that a huge gourd had risen above Yuan's head. Violent lightning surged out from the gourd like chains of lightning, firmly holding Yuan in place. Thunder Gourd of 7 Treasures. Kong Qianjuan's expression changed dramatically when he saw the gourd, and he blurted out. Although the Thunder 7-Gem gourd had not advanced to the level of a spirit treasure, it was still a treasure at the peak of the spirit cultivation stage. At least its quality was much higher than the gourd that Lu Ping had hidden in his core space, and its power was also much stronger. It was enough to help Yuan block the Azura's close-range attack. Lu Ping's eyelids twitched, and the Thunder 7-Gem gourd in his core space jumped up and down, as if it could not wait to jump out. Lu Ping naturally would not expose such a treasure at this time. The Dragon Dharma power slapped it away, and only then did it calm down. Chu Hailan's aura surged wildly. The aura around Chu Hailan's body surged, and under the watchful eyes of the people around him, he broke through the early Dharma stage. The spirit treasures in his hands spun around him like a bottomless abyss, absorbing all the waves that came crashing down on him. His body was still standing firmly at the edge of the passageway. However, after dispelling the impact of Azura's remarkable power, Chu Hailan's aura began to decline until he returned to the early Dharma stage. It was obvious that he had used an extremely mysterious secret technique that allowed him to raise his own level of power to the mid-Dharma stage in a short period of time. This was done in order to deal with any sudden danger, and it did not last for too long. If Chu Hailon had used a secret technique to temporarily raise his level of training to the mid-Dharma stage, then what Qin Shijun was displaying now was the true power of the mid-Dharma stage. A huge aura surged around him, causing the air within a 1-foot radius to tremble. This was the true power of a mid-Dharma adept. With this level of power as a shield, Qin Shijun was still able to use the first Calamity Spirit treasure in his hand and easily nullify the Asura's attack. This person had hidden his strength well. Only then did the crowd realize that when they had focused their attention on Lu Ping, a practitioner of the same level as them, wanting to dig out more of his hidden cards, they had not expected Qin Shijun to be one step ahead of them. He had passed the first Thunder Trial and entered the mid-Dharma stage. Even so, after Qin Shijun's sudden outburst, the crowd's attention on Lu Ping didn't diminish. Facing the Asura head-on was undoubtedly a challenge for the crowd, but it was also a chance for them to spy on each other's strengths and learn about each other's trump cards. At least up until now, the Flame Spirit Coffin and Kong Qianjun had been forced to reveal their Dharma powers. Chu Hailon had revealed the secret technique that allowed him to increase his level of training, and Yuan Feifei had revealed a treasure like the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash. Of course, the most valuable thing was that Qin Shijun had revealed that he had already entered the mid-Dharma stage. The third generation of practitioners competed with each other. However, in the face of the huge gap that was the first Thunder Trial, the most elite practitioners had always been limited to the early Dharma stage and had not broken through. This also caused them to compete on equal footing and compete with each other in terms of ability. This kind of competition pushed these elite practitioners to continuously strengthen their foundations in the early Dharma stage. They used methods such as digging out their own potential, refining secret techniques and powers, and searching for rare treasures to increase their abilities. However, these practitioners naturally knew that this balance was extremely fragile. The way to break this balance was also extremely simple, and that was to cross the gap between life and death. Once someone broke this balance and entered the mid-Dharma stage, then the title of the first of the third generation would very likely be well-deserved. Qin Shijun, the first official practitioner of the third generation of the Crystal Palace, had already crossed this gap at some point, but he had kept it a secret. He only revealed it now that he was facing the threat of death from Asura. Everyone's hearts were pounding, and at the same time, they were secretly thankful. Qin Shijun, who had entered the mid-Dharma stage, had suddenly replaced Lu Ping as the practitioner that everyone was most unfamiliar with. However, this did not mean that Lu Ping was no longer the focus of everyone's attention. The appearance of 2 unfathomable teammates in a team would only make everyone more vigilant. Zheng, 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 Zheng. For flying swords circled around Lu Ping's body, but everyone's eyes were fixed on the last flying sword, which had a trace of blood red but was also dyed with a rich 5-colored light. It turned out that he also had a spirit-nurturing treasure with him. Previously, Lu Ping had never used a spirit treasure to fight against an enemy, and he had even used 2 supreme powers at once, just like Qin Shijun. Now that he had suddenly used a flying sword, although everyone was slightly disappointed, he had still managed to force out one of his trump cards. However, was this guy really sure that he could block Asura's attack with just this? This question only flashed through everyone's minds for a moment, but then they saw the 4 flying swords each dancing, and the soaring auras on the flying swords were all different. Was this guy going to use 4 different kinds of powers? Was this a joke? Did he have enough divine will to control 4 kinds of powers at the same time? Did he have enough inner yuan to resist the pressure of 4 powers on his own bloodline? However, the truth that was displayed in front of everyone forced them to believe it. Not only did Lu Ping have this ability, but he was even more powerful than them. Water Ghost Sword, Natural Great Power, Shapeless Sword Technique, Thin Water Sword, Natural Great Power, All Rivers into the Sea Technique, Flowing Sword, Natural Great Power, Seeping Sword Technique, Blood Orange Sword, Natural Great Power, Great River Flowing Sword Technique, 3 Spirit Nurturing Flying Swords, and one flying sword that had been swallowed by the gentian pearl that had been imprinted with the improved Great River flowing sword technique. All 4 kinds of sword techniques were released at once, breaking through the waves of power that were rushing towards Lu Ping in one fell swoop. How could this be? How could this be? What a powerful divine will! What vigorous true essence! What tenacious bloodline! The Azura was initially a little surprised to see that a few early Dharma adepts from the human and demon clans were actually able to break through his attack, and in the end, his gaze lingered on Qin Shijun and Lu Ping. Just as everyone was preparing to deal with an even more ferocious attack from the Azura, they saw that the Azura had suddenly strangely stopped. Everyone still did not dare to be careless, but suddenly felt the space around them ripple, and 2 great adepts suddenly appeared outside the passageway, attacking the Azura from the left and right. Suddenly, an earth-shattering battle broke out between the 3, and they tumbled all the way away from the entrance of the passageway. Reinforcements had finally arrived. The 6 people who had originally gathered their energy and were ready to fight to the death were suddenly like deflated balloons, each of their faces pale and sweating profusely. They looked like they had used up too much inner yuan and were at the end of their rope. They no longer had the awe-inspiring aura that they had when they challenged the Azura earlier. Qin Shijun was, after all, a mid-Dharma adept. He was the strongest among the 6 of them. He forced a smile and said, "Everyone, now is not the time to slack off. Let's wait for the gap to be completely repaired before we resume our work." Everyone lost interest in fighting for a moment and quickly chased away a few blood mara that were still trying to restrain the formation. Immediately, the passageway began to recover at an extremely fast speed. Seeing that the passageway was reduced to the last 3 feet in length, there was no longer any devil Luo who dared to attack it again. However, they heard a faint roar that sounded like it came from the ancient times coming from afar. The 6 people's expressions changed drastically again. Chapter 1061. Looking at the last 3 feet of the hole, the 6 people could not help but feel relieved this time. It seemed that victory was already waving to them. However, right at this moment, an unexpected event occurred. A strange howl suddenly sounded from afar, and the expressions of the 6 of them instantly changed drastically. They were all extremely familiar with this howl. During the Battle of Yuanling Island, this howl had always been commanding the All-Devil Army there, and it allowed everyone to know that the existence that had let out the howl was the existence that had been hiding within the All-Devil Army and had never revealed itself, the heavenly demon. The roar was very far away, but the invisible sound waves had no effect on the Mara army outside the formation shield. But in the eyes of Lu Ping and others, it was even more terrifying than the raging waves. The 3 feet of the tunnel entrance was like a cave filled with wind, making a strange roar in the air. The 6 people all propped up their protective aura, but the sound waves made ripples like waves. The 6 of them exchanged glances with each other. When they saw that the tunnel entrance had once again shrunk by half a foot, they had the intention to retreat. However, before they could move, they saw dark clouds churning in the sky. They had practically covered half of the sky, and the entire place was clearly incomparably dark. A green light flashed in Lu Ping's eyes, and a sharp light more than a foot long shot out from his eyes. At the same time, Yuan Feixiang's eyes crackled with lightning. The 2 shouted almost at the same time, "Not good, defend!" In the dark cloud, a human silhouette loomed in it, and the black fog around it turned into various demons as if it had a spirit, and its face showed a variety of hideous and miserable expressions. Just at the moment when the 2 shouted at the same time, a deafening roar suddenly came from the dark cloud. Roar! The voices of the 2 were immediately drowned out by this loud roar. A sound wave that could almost be seen with the naked eye came all the way, squeezing the space to pieces. The original 2.5 feet of the hole was directly torn by the sound wave like a broken rag. The remaining force did not stop and directly raged towards the 6 people's divine senses. Although the flame spirit Coffin and Kong Qianjun had already summoned their Dharma idols out of the core space, they still let out a miserable shriek. The Dharma idols above their heads were almost blown away by the strong wind. Then, they tumbled backwards and spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. Yuan Feixiang let out a muffled groan, and a majestic golden-winged thunder rock flashed over his head, and then he was drowned by the overflowing lightning. Then, Yuan Feixiang retreated a few feet all the way, and then he slowly stopped. When the lightning dissipated, the golden thunder rock above his head had already disappeared, leaving only Yuan Feixiang with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. But at least his situation was much better than that of the flame spirit coffin and Kong Qianjun. When the heavenly demon roar sounded, Chu Haitian also summoned his Dharma idol to resist. Chu Haitian's Dharma idol was a single-horned golden scale dragon. The golden scale dragon only needed to roll, and the Dharma idol's auspicious cloud suddenly turned into layers of waves. But the waves were smashed by the heavenly demon roar. Seeing that Chu Haitian was about to follow in Yuan Feixiang's footsteps, a cloud rolled over from the side, and a golden rock soared in the cloud. Then, a layer of invisible flame rose on the edge of the cloud, covering Chu Haitian's figure. The 9-story glazed pagoda above Qin Shijun's head lit up again. As the 9th floor was lit up, the previous 8 floors began to extinguish one after another. Then, Lu Ping saw an oil lamp fly out of the 9th floor of the glazed pagoda. The 9th floor of the glazed pagoda was immediately extinguished, and the wick of the oil lamp was suddenly lit up with a bean-sized flame. Lu Ping's eyes narrowed slightly. The moment the flame lit up, Lu Ping sensed a potential hidden in the bean-sized flame. That flame was a heaven-level upper spiritual fire, starlight. And that oil lamp was a second tribulation spiritual treasure. No wonder Qin Shijun could light up all 9 floors of the glazed pagoda. Originally, Lu Ping was secretly surprised that Qin Shijun had already practiced 3 supreme magical powers. It turned out that it was because of this second tribulation spiritual treasure, the oil lamp. Qin Shijun held the oil lamp in his hand, and the other hand flicked at the oil lamp. A drop of lamp oil spilled out from the lamp, forming an oil curtain in front of Qin Shijun. When Lu Ping saw the oil curtain, he couldn't help but be moved. How is this ordinary lamp oil? It is simply the fierce flame spiritual oil, a heaven and earth mysterious treasure of the water attribute. Although this treasure is of the water attribute, it is extremely flammable. Once it is ignited, the power of the flame is extremely tyrannical, even comparable to the heaven and earth spiritual fire. Usually, a drop of fierce flame spiritual oil can burn for a whole day after it is ignited. This is a favorite item of many cultivators who are of the water attribute but are extremely obsessed with alchemy. It is also a shortcut for cultivators of the water attribute to become an alchemist. After Lu Ping became an alchemist, he also considered looking for this kind of fierce flame spiritual oil, but the rarity of this item was no less than rare treasures such as the growing soil. Lu Ping had never had the chance to encounter it. Unexpectedly, he saw this item in the hands of Qin Shijun today, and it was used as the lamp oil of a second tribulation spiritual treasure. For a moment, Lu Ping felt that he, who had always been called Duobao, should admit defeat in front of the chief heir of the Crystal Palace. Then, he saw the flame of the oil lamp gradually elongate, turning the oil into a fire wall. The sound wave swept over and was immediately blocked by the fire wall. In the sound of chi-chi, the flame was extinguished and reignited, and the sound wave became weaker and weaker. Seeing that it was finally blocked, Qin Shijun couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. There was sweat on his forehead. He turned to look at Lu Ping, but he couldn't help but exclaim, "Heaven upper grade, green phosphorus fire." Just when the devil's roar came, Lu Ping stretched out his hand and a small flag appeared in Lu Ping's hand. With a wave of the small flag, a huge cloud sail suddenly opened in front of Lu Ping. Countless auspicious clouds surrounded Lu Ping in the center, and a golden rock constantly hovered around Lu Ping in the auspicious clouds. The power of the devil's roar was extremely great, but most of its power was aimed at the cultivator's divine thoughts. Although the cloud sail was a first tribulation defensive spiritual treasure, Songhai Laozu originally refined it to restrain the innate soul-devouring skill of demonic cultivators. Therefore, in the face of the attack of the devil's roar, the cloud sail was even more powerful than the second tribulation spiritual treasure oil lamp in Qin Shijun's hand. Moreover, just as the devil's roar was about to reach Zhou Donghuang, A layer of invisible flames suddenly rose on the edge of the auspicious clouds, burning the golden, auspicious clouds like they were on fire. When the sound waves caused by the devil's roar came into contact with the burning clouds, they were instantly ignited into a jade-green wave of fire. Unlike Qin Shijun's wall of fire, which counteracted the sound waves, the green phosphorus soul fire burned itself with the sound waves of the soul-devouring skill that the devil had used. At this time, Lu Ping realized that Chu Haitian seemed to be somewhat powerless because he was defending against the devil's attack. With a thought, the cloud sail suddenly expanded, covering Chu Haitian under the auspicious clouds. Although the cloud sail could restrain the soul-devouring skill, its own defense was, after all, limited. When Lu Ping helped Chu Haitian defend against the sound waves of the roar, its own defense was inevitably weakened. However, Lu Ping's powerful divine thoughts, which were comparable to that of a late Dharma adept, could completely counteract part of this effect. Among the 6 of them, Lu Ping was also the one who managed to defend against the devil's attack. The devil seemed to be extremely surprised that Lu Ping and the other 5 were able to defend against its attack. The dark clouds in the sky rapidly shrank, and a pair of faint lights shot through the dark clouds. Qin Shijun and the others suddenly felt a chill run down their spines. The 2 dark lights must have been the eyes of the devil hidden in the soul-devouring black fog, and Lu Ping seemed to feel that the 2 dark lights had been staring at him for a particularly long time. The passageway had once again shrunk to less than 3 feet. At this time, the Flame Spirit Coffin and Kong Qianjun were both seriously injured. Yuan Feixiang and Chu Haitian had also expended a lot of their inner yuan. Although Qin Shijun and Lu Ping still had some strength left, once the devil launched another attack, the 2 of them alone would not have the confidence to defend against it. However, the strange thing was that after the devil had seriously injured the 6 of them, it did not make any further moves. Lu Ping and Qin Shijun looked at each other in surprise. It was only then that Lu Ping realized that the passageway seemed to be shrinking faster and faster. By now, there was only 2 feet left in the passageway. Qin Shijun also came to his senses. When he turned around, he saw that the surrounding poisonous clouds were slowly dissipating. The poisonous Azura tribe was almost completely annihilated. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen rays of light had already approached them. Among them were the 6 Fa Xiangs of their respective forces, Laozu. Lu Ping and Qin Shijun were relieved. They knew that Mara's plan on Chengling Island had been defeated. As for Chengling Island, although it was still a mess, it was only a matter of time before Mara was annihilated without any reinforcements. The devil must have seen that there was no hope for the passageway to recover, and that the reinforcements from Lu Ping and the others had arrived. That was why the devil did not attack again. Old Ancestor Tian Kong took the lead, still not dispelling his earth element true body. The dark hell venom fire circled around him as he held the mountain-splitting hatchet tightly in his hand and landed in front of Lu Ping. Seeing that other than Lu Ping's aura being a little unstable due to the exhaustion of his true essence, Old Ancestor Tian Kong heaved a sigh of relief and said, "You are a little rash this time." Lu Ping knew that this was the old man's sincere concern for him. He immediately said, "Thank you for your concern, Granduncle. I was indeed a little reckless this time, but I'm lucky." Tian Kong Laozu nodded and sighed. However, there was a slight hint of pride on his face. He turned around and looked at Qin Shijun, Kong Qianjun, and the others who had been protected by the elders of their respective forces. He said, "The outcome of this battle has been decided. You should return to Ling Island to recuperate first. Leave the matters here to us old fellows." Lu Ping felt that he had gained a lot from this battle. He was planning to return to Ling Island for a period of time to cultivate in isolation and turn what he had gained into his own strength. Thus, he said, "If that's the case, I will return first. Be careful, Granduncle." When he turned around, he saw Chu Haitian walking towards him and said, "Thank you for your help earlier, Brother Lu." Lu Ping saw that there was a middle Dharma adept standing behind Chu Haitian. The adept was looking at him with a curious expression. Lu Ping guessed that the adept must be a senior adept of the green sea snakes. Lu Ping nodded at the adept and smiled. "Brother Chu, you are too kind." Chapter 1062. Lu Ping and Chu Haitian bade farewell. Moments after they left, the entire island's protective array formation suddenly made a loud noise. Amidst the deafening roar, the entire protective array formation shone brightly. From afar, it looked like a crystal cover had been inverted on the surface of the sea. Lu Ping looked back and saw that the entrance to the tunnel had already closed. The entire protective array formation had been completely integrated, and there was no longer a single flaw. At this time, the distant roar of the heavenly demon could be heard again. This time, it did not use its powerful soul-devouring power. When Lu Ping looked up, he saw that the soul-devouring black fog that had filled half the sky was gradually retreating, and then it was moving into the distance. The Mara army outside the island was also gradually retreating behind it. The Mara army was actually retreating. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous roars caused a storm of spiritual chi that shocked Lu Ping. This level of battle was no less than a battle between a mid-Dharma adept and a Jade Shura. When Lu Ping turned around to look, he saw that among the Mara army that had attacked Chengling Island earlier, 4 or 5 blood Mara had suddenly self-destructed, causing a huge wave of spiritual chi that had drawn in 8 or 9 Dharma adepts that had been fighting them. When the waves dissipated, only 5 of the 8 or 9 Dharma adepts had survived. 2 of them were seriously injured and on the verge of death. The other 2 had a broken leg, and 1 had a broken arm. The last one looked whole, but he was also vomiting blood. The aftermath of the self-destruction had also caused a large number of Mara and human and demon core forging adepts to die within a radius of a few hundred feet. At this time, Yuancheng Laozu rushed out of nowhere, looking ragged and ragged. He shouted in the sky above Chengling Island, "The Mara army has retreated. The Mara on Chengling Island has been abandoned. Be careful of their self-destruction." Yuancheng Laozu's roar was obviously a use of his own power. Chengling Island was 200 miles wide, and it was a medium-sized island, but Yuancheng Laozu's roar was clearly heard by the human and demon adepts who were fighting. While Yuancheng Laozu was shouting, the entire island was still filled with the roars of various spells and treasures. There were even sounds of panic and explosions that were no weaker than the previous ones, but these could not drown out Yuancheng Laozu's roar. The passageway was closed again, and the Mara army outside the island had retreated. The Mara left on Chengling Island was immediately in a desperate situation, so more and more Mara self-destruction began to happen. In the beginning, the human and demon adepts were caught off guard and suffered heavy casualties. 6 or 7 consecutive self-destruction at the level of Mara killed 5 Dharma adepts, including 1 at the mid-Dharma stage, Laozu. 6 or 7 others were seriously injured. In addition, the self-destruction of many small and large Mara also caused many human and demon core forging adepts to die, and the number of casualties was even higher. Yuancheng Laozu's warning was timely enough. In the face of the threat of death, the human and demon core forging adepts were naturally very vigilant. Even so, the following series of self-destruction of Mara still caused the human and demon core forging adepts to suffer heavy losses. At this time, Lu Ping could no longer care about returning to Spirit Mountain. Instead, he and Tiankong Laozu hurriedly avoided the existence of those who were at the level of Blood Mara and above, and headed towards the 3 talents and 5 elements Great Formation formed by more than 20 core forging adepts of Junling. After all, Immortal Xian Su was an extremely experienced second-generation adept. Under his command, Junling's Great Formation was steady and not greedy. From the time they arrived on Chengling Island until now, there were not many casualties. The only time they lost an early core forging adept and 2 mid-core forging adepts were seriously injured because they were targeted by a blood Shura. However, the moment the passage of the Great Formation was completely sealed, Immortal Xian Su naturally knew that this meant that the human and demon core forging adepts would win this battle. For a moment, it was inevitable that he would be a little careless. Not only did Immortal Xian Su feel this way, but the more than 20 core forging adepts of Jinling also chose to relax at this moment after their minds had been stretched taut for such a long time. 2 great Shuras instantly rushed into the Great Formation and self-destructed. Immortal Xian Su realized that the situation was not good when he saw the 2 great Shuras rushing into the Great Formation as if they were committing suicide. He hurriedly began to operate the defense of the Great Formation with all his might. However, the self-destruction was so sudden that 3 early and mid-stage core forging adepts died on the spot. 6 or 7 others were injured. Among them, 3 were seriously injured and basically had no chance of advancing further in their cultivation in the future. One of them was even a late-stage core forging adept. After that, Yuancheng Laozu's voice sounded. Immortal Xian Su had no time to blame himself and hurriedly operated the Great Formation to defend at all times. As expected, a few more Great Mara rushed over and perished together, but they were all successfully defended by Immortal Xian Su. Even so, there were still 5 or 6 adepts who were injured by the aftermath of the Mara self-destruction. This caused the casualties of the more than 20 core forging adepts who came to rescue Qingling Island to reach almost 2/3. When Kong Laozu and Lu Ping returned, they saw the situation in front of them. Immortal Xian Su's face was filled with pain, regret, and guilt. Kong Laozu's expression was frighteningly gloomy. He snorted coldly and cursed, "You led a good team." When Lu Ping saw the scene in front of him, he immediately began to treat the injured adepts of his sect. He took out all kinds of elixirs in his hands. Immortal Xian Su's expression became even more remorseful. Lu Ping looked to the side and saw clearly that although Kong Laozu was angry, most of his anger was not directed at Immortal Xian Su. After all, the self-destruction of Mara had killed more than 10 Dharma adepts and severely injured more than 10. Immortal Xian Su had been cautious enough compared to the other adepts who came to help. Among the various sects, the number of casualties was considered low. Kong Tiankong Laozu's heart was really aching for the few dead adepts. Lu Ping hurriedly tried to calm him down. Uncle Xian Su has done well enough. After all, no one would have thought that Mara would choose such a crazy method at the last moment. Uncle Master, saving people is more important now. Please keep your spirits up. Kong Laozu snorted coldly and stood in front of the Zhenling Dao soldier formation without saying a word. Immortal Xian Su nodded gratefully at Lu Ping. In the distance, Kong Laozu's roar could already be heard. Before a few Mara could reach within 100 feet of the Zhenling Dao soldier formation, they were split in half by Kong Laozu's mountain-splitting axe. At this time, the great cultivators from the various sects and tribes who were fighting with the Asuras outside the island had already returned. These great cultivators no longer cared about the sorry state they were in after fighting with the Asuras. They all began to suppress the frenzied Mara army on Qingling Island. With the participation of the great cultivators, there was naturally no need to fear the self-destruction of the Mara army. In addition, the core forging stage cultivators from the various sects and tribes began to gather together. The casualties of the human and demon cultivators immediately began to decrease. 3 days later, more and more news began to gather. Kong Laozu ordered someone to send a copy of the news to Lu Ping. In this battle, the Mara army had returned in defeat, but the human and demon races had also suffered heavy losses. According to a rough estimate, more than 20 Dharma adepts had fallen. Among them, there were no less than 4 mid-Dharma adepts. Half of the casualties were caused by the self-destruction of the Mara army after Lu Ping and the others had successfully sealed the passage. As for the core forging stage cultivators, the casualties of the human and demon races could be described as innumerable. In this battle, several great cultivators had paid the price of serious injuries. Including Yuancheng Laozu and the other 2 Dharma adepts, it was said that this battle had directly destroyed the possibility of them advancing to the next level, even though the possibility of that was originally very small. There were also 2 great cultivators from the Green Sea Snakes and the Kuan Fish clan who had their essence damaged. It was said that even if they recovered from their injuries, they would probably be thankful to be able to maintain their cultivation at the mid-Dharma stage. This number of casualties shocked Lu Ping so much that he was speechless. Although this time Qingling Island had an opening, in reality, the human and demon cultivators still had the geographical advantage. Even so, they had still paid such a huge price. If this battle had really been a direct confrontation with the Mara army, it was likely that the human and demon races would have long been defeated. However, compared to this, Lu Ping was more concerned about the Phantom Hall's explanation for the sudden weakening of the island's protective formation and the opening of the formation. Through Kong Wu's inheritance, Lu Ping already knew that the foundation of the Phantom Five Islands protective formation was a huge and 4 large spirit stone veins under the 5 islands. Every mining of these 5 spirit stone veins had to go through strict calculation and control. It had always been forbidden for all sects to mine wantonly, and every time a sufficient amount had been mined, the mine would be resealed. This time, Chengling Island's protective formation had been weakened and even broken through by the sudden appearance of poison Shura. The fundamental reason was that Zhang Shi had entered the spirit stone veins on Yuanling Island through the space essence and wantonly stole spirit stones. Later, DeBeo had searched for top-grade spirit stones in the veins and finally caused a disturbance in the island's protective formation. At this time, the great cultivators of the Phantom Hall had naturally found out about the theft of the spirit stone veins on Yuanling Island. But unexpectedly, the Phantom Hall only said that there was a problem with the operation of the formation, and as for what the problem was, it was really secretive. The few North Sea sects on the island were naturally the focus of Jinling's attention. Lu Ping first looked for information about the Blue Sea sect and Zhang Shi, but found the news that Dongyan Laozu had reported about Zhang Shi's death in the Battle of Qingling Island and the self-destruction of Blood Shura. Lu Ping was stunned. When he looked down, he found that the witnesses were actually Yuan Feixiang and Mr. Wan, who had never shown up during the battle with Poison Shura. The time was when Lu Ping and the others had left after the passage was completely sealed. The Yuan family had actually helped the Blue Sea sect to hide the truth of Zhang Shi's death. Since when had the Blue Sea sect become so close to the number 1 family in Central Land? Lu Ping rubbed his chin. If Zhang Shi had not died in his hands, no one would believe that the direct descendant of the number 1 family in Central Land would actually lie. But why did the Yuan family do this? Chapter 1063. No matter what, Zhang Shi's death was a joyous event for Jinling. It allowed Jinling to vent his anger. Other than that, it was said that Xinling's sect only lost a few core forging adepts, which was not a big loss. However, the 2 Dharma adepts of Haiyan sect and Shuiyan Pavilion suffered serious injuries. After the battle on Chengling Island, the 2 had been in seclusion to recover. Lu Ping's expression changed. With a shake of his hand, he opened a door. DeBeo had already rushed out excitedly. As soon as he saw Lu Ping, he shouted, "Boss, we're rich this time. We're really rich." Lu Ping glared at him and said, "Lower your voice. Do you want everyone to know?" DeBeo was very cunning. He naturally knew what it meant to steal a spirit stone vein, especially one that was so heavily guarded. He said in a low voice, "Boss, although Tsang Hai Sec's share of spirit stones this time is 2 grades lower than Jinling's, it's only less than 200 top-grade spirit stones. But this Zhang Shi really dared to steal the same amount of spirit stones as Jinling. In total, we have more than 1,000 top-grade spirit stones, not to mention the other top-grade spirit stones." Even though Lu Ping had been through too much, his face was full of disbelief at this moment. He exclaimed, "How many? 1,000 top-grade spirit stones?" DeBeo nodded proudly. "There are still more than 10. In addition to the sect's share that Tiankong Laozu asked you to keep, this adds up." "No, no, no, no." Lu Ping waved his hand. "We can't touch the sect's share. Just the share that Tsang Hai sect and Zhang Shi stole belongs to us. But this is too much. This is equivalent to the share of 2 sects for several years, and now it's in the hands of 1 person." Lu Ping's face was flushed. This was really a windfall. Even someone like Lu Ping would find it difficult to control himself in the face of such a large amount of training resources. Spirit burning array, spirit explosion array, spirit boiling array. For a moment, several training methods that required a large amount of top-grade spirit stones flashed through Lu Ping's mind. Now that he had so many top-grade spirit stones, Lu Ping could use these things to increase his level of training. DeBao jumped up and down, egging him on. That's right. I heard that an early Dharma stage elder in our sect only receives 5 pieces of top-grade spirit stones a year. Boss, you've just received an extra allowance equivalent to 200 years. If you don't use it to improve your own training environment, you'll be doing yourself a disservice." Lu Ping was all smiles and nodded. "That's right." DeBeo looked at the game and said, "Boss, now that you have so many top-grade spirit stones, those top medium, and low-grade spirit stones are nothing to you. Why don't you give them to Samling, Lu Qiner, Lu Taohua, and the rest? Lu Ping smiled and was about to nod when he suddenly froze. He looked at Debeo with a half-smile. Debeo knew that something was wrong. He quickly chuckled and said, "Boss, what's with that look? It's so creepy. I remember now. We haven't counted those scattered low-grade spirit stones. I'll go back and count them now." After saying that, Debeo was about to slam his head into the Golden House's portal. Unexpectedly, the portal shook and disappeared. Caught off guard, Debeo slammed his head into the wall of the secret room, causing a huge bump to form on his head. "Boss, you can't do that." Lu Ping chuckled. "Well done, Debeo. How dare you hide them?" "I didn't do that." Debeo cried out in grievance. "I didn't take a single one of those 1,000 top-grade spirit stones." Lu Ping said, "I told you to steal the top-grade spirit stones from the spiritual stone vein. Where did you go? You didn't behave. You're asking for a beating." Seeing that his plan had been exposed, Debeo waved his hand and said, "No, no. I'll take them out. I'll take them out." Debeo took out 30 top-grade spirit stones and said, "They're all here. They're all here." Normally, 30 top-grade spirit stones would be enough to make Lu Ping happy. But today, after being hit by 1,000 top-grade spirit stones, 30 top-grade spirit stones were nothing to him. Lu Ping knew that Debeo had always been cunning, so he glared at him and said, "It seems that it's necessary for me to take out your storage device and check it." Don't. Debeo was anxious. He took out 20 top-grade spirit stones and said, "They're all here. This time, they're definitely all here. If you still hide them, I'll be struck by lightning." Lu Ping naturally wouldn't believe that Debeo had dug out 50 top-grade spirit stones. But even if he did hide them, it was just a fraction. It was Debeo's nature to love spirit stones. Debeo himself was Lu Ping's follower for the longest time. He had almost witnessed the whole process of Lu Ping's growth. Although they were master and servant, they were actually brothers. Their relationship was the deepest. Naturally, Lu Ping wouldn't be too harsh on him. Otherwise, Lu Ping wouldn't have spent so much effort on a low-level demonic pet like Debeo to promote his cultivation all the way to the current core forging stage. Lu Ping weighed the 50 top-grade spirit stones in his hand and said, "The top-grade spirit stones are not what you can use now. You can keep a few for your collection, but don't use them for cultivation. Especially for people like you. It's a waste to use the top-grade spirit stones. If you don't handle it well, you might explode yourself. Even I can't save you." Debeo didn't seem embarrassed that Lu Ping had seen through him. He said happily, "Don't worry, boss." Lu Ping shook his head and said, "Leave a portion of the top-grade spirit stones. You guys can split the rest among yourselves." There was a burst of cheers in the House of Gold. In the Battle of Chungling Island, both the human and demon races had suffered heavy losses, especially the 3 main demon tribes that were stationed there. The losses were even more severe. The Kurin Fish Clan and the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan each had a Dharma adept who had been attacked by the Asuras the moment the island was breached, and their cultivation was almost destroyed. However, this battle had also allowed many cultivators from both the human and demon races to gradually reveal their talents. Many Dharma adepts, who were previously unknown, had shone brightly in this battle. However, the most outstanding person in this battle was naturally the 6 third-generation cultivators from both the human and demon races who had killed their way into the Poison Azuras group and sealed the gap in the array formation. In the process of sealing the gap in the spell formation, these 6 cultivators had displayed their cultivation, strength, and intelligence. They were the best of the best among all the third-generation cultivators. Moreover, these 6 had joined forces to block the attack of an Azura on the spell formation and even withstood the blow of the heavenly demon. This was something that all the cultivators from both the human and demon races could not believe. Although the heavenly demon had been discovered when it attacked Yuanling Island, no one had ever seen the true face of this heavenly demon, let alone fought with it. Moreover, from the current situation, the entire Mara army seemed to be under the control of this heavenly demon. It was clear that this heavenly demon's strength was very high. Moreover, Lu Ping and the other 5 were actually able to withstand a blow from this heavenly demon, regardless of whether this heavenly demon had used its full strength or not. Just this alone was enough for the 6 of them to become famous in the overseas training world. Of course, among the 6 of them, 2 of them were undoubtedly the most popular. One was the first heir of the 3rd generation of the Crystal Palace, Qin Shijun, and the other was naturally Lu Tianping from the North Sea, who was known as the Water Sword deity. Qin Shijun's body was already dazzling enough, but when he revealed for the first time that he had already passed the first Thunder Trial and had advanced to the mid-Dharma stage, it still caused a huge uproar in the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. All along, the 3rd generation adepts who were able to advance to the Dharma stage were, without exception, the best of the best. They could be generally seen as a special class among the 3rd generation adepts, enjoying the limelight of the training world and the full support of the sections. However, when a mid-Dharma adept appeared among the 3rd generation adepts, it meant that the 3rd generation adepts were about to usher in a new era of differentiation. The 3rd generation Dharma adepts could no longer be used to describe the elites among the 3rd generation adepts. What people really valued were the adepts who were about to advance to the mid-Dharma stage, or who had the potential to advance to the mid-Dharma stage. Qin Shijun's breakthrough still represented that the Crystal Palace's superpower status in the overseas training world was unshakable. However, what people were more concerned about was that since the first heir of the Crystal Palace could advance to the mid-Dharma stage, would the direct descendants of the 5 holy lands of the central mainland, who were also major sects, also begin to pass the first Thunder Trial? For Lu Ping, regardless of the fact that he already had enough strength to gain the recognition of the 3rd generation elite adepts in the training world, his background had already made it so that no matter what he did that was similar to the 3rd generation elite adepts, he would receive more praise than the 3rd generation elite adepts of the other sects. This was also the helplessness of Lu Ping, the helplessness of Jinling, and even the helplessness of the entire North Sea training world. Furthermore, the strength that Lu Ping had displayed during the battle with the other 5 people at the entrance of the passageway was more than just amazing. No matter how many trump cards a Dharma adept had up his sleeves, there was no doubt that his greatest trump card was the Dharma power that he had formed, and his strongest trump card was when he summoned his Dharma power. However, during the battle at the entrance of the passageway, Kong Qianjun and the Flame Coffin still ended up with severe injuries and vomiting blood despite using all their spiritual treasures, remarkable powers, and Dharma powers. Chu Haitian and Yuan's flying was slightly better, but they had also revealed their Dharma powers. Among them, Chu Haitian had even managed to avoid being injured because of Lu Ping's help. Only Qin Shijun and Lu Ping had not revealed their Dharma powers from the beginning to the end. What did this mean? Even if the sky demons had attacked, they would not have been able to force the 2 of them to use their full strength. Qin Shijun was one thing, as he was a mid-Dharma adept after all. But what about Lu Tianping? Could it be that with his early Dharma level of training, he would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the number 1 disciple of the Crystal Palace who had advanced to the mid-Dharma level? When Lu Ping came out of the training room, it was already a month later. During this month, Mara's army had launched a few more battles, and both sides had suffered casualties. The reason why Lu Ping had come out of training this time was because Chu Haitian had personally come to visit him. Chapter 1064. Recently, many people had come to visit Jinling. Most of them had come because of Lu Ping's status as an alchemy guru, but after that, they had come because of Lu Ping's amazing performance during the battle on Qingling Island. Other than a few requests for alchemy that Tiankong Laozu had agreed to, the rest of the visits were mostly rejected by Tiankong Laozu on the grounds that Lu Ping was training in seclusion. Chu Haitian's arrival was within Lu Ping's expectations, but at the same time, it was unexpected. It was expected because Lu Ping had thought that Chu Hailon would definitely come for the 1,000 poison serum. His level of practice was only 1 step away from the mid-Dharma stage. The reason why he had not attracted the Thunder Trial was because he wanted to use the power of the Thunder Trial to cultivate his second natal supreme remarkable technique while advancing to the mid-Dharma stage. However, during the battle at the passageway, Lu Ping had used the 1,000 poison serum to defeat the enemy. In addition, Qin Shijun had gone through the second Thunder Trial and cultivated his second natal supreme remarkable technique before him. This caused the arrogant Chu Haitian to be unwilling to fall behind Qin Shijun. However, unexpectedly, Chu Haitian had obviously arrived much earlier than he had expected. Chu Haitian's status was special. As the heir of the Green Sea Snakes, even though he was only a third-generation disciple, his status was enough for Tiankong Laozu to personally receive him. Brother Chu, I didn't expect you to be so impatient. I had originally thought that you would only come after everything on Chengling Island had recovered. Lu Ping smiled from afar. Seeing that Lu Ping had come, Chu Haitian also smiled and said, "This time, I am not here for that matter. I have something else to ask of you, Brother Lu." Seeing that he was serious, Lu Ping also stopped smiling and said seriously, "What is it?" Chu Haitian laughed bitterly and said, "I guess Brother Lu already knows that a great practitioner of my tribe was seriously injured and his level of practice regressed to the mid-Dharma stage?" Lu Ping suddenly understood and said, "You mean Chu Tianyu Laozu of your sect?" Ancestor Chu Tianyu was the late Dharma adept of the Emerald Sea Spirit Snake Clan. He was one of the best among the second generation of adepts of the Emerald Sea Spirit Snake Clan. In the instant that the passageway to Chengling Island had been broken through, Ancestor Chu Tianyu had done his best to resist the invasion of the Demon Luo army. At the same time, he had gathered the scattered members of the Emerald Sea Spirit Snake Clan. However, in the end, he had fallen into the siege of two Azuras and was severely injured. However, because Chu Tianyu Laozu was everywhere to provide support, the low-level practitioners of the Green Sea Snakes were able to gather as much as possible. In the Battle of Chengling Island, among the three major demon tribes of the Green Sea Snakes, Fire Phoenix and Kuin, the Green Sea Snakes had the least casualties. It could be said that this was all due to Chu Tianyu Laozu's efforts. Although Chu Tianyu Laozu was finally able to save his life with the help of the great practitioners of the various sects, his level of practice was on the verge of collapse. The best result was that he could barely stabilize his level of practice at the mid-Dharma stage, but there was no possibility of recovery in the future. Chu Haitian nodded and said, "I guess Brother Lu has already guessed it. This time, I have come to invite Brother Lu to take a look and see if there is any possibility of my Sky Feather tribe's uncle recovering his level of practice." Lu Ping pondered for a moment, then clapped his hands and said, "Well, although I have heard a little about Tianyu Laozu's injury and feel that the hope of recovery is slim, without seeing it with my own eyes, it will only be speculation after all." Chu Haitian's face lit up and he said, "In that case, thank you, Brother Lu." "Oh, yes. When I asked Brother Lu for the 10,000 poison serum, Brother Lu seemed to say that what you asked me to do was extremely difficult. However, if Brother Lu can really cure Sky Feather Tribe's uncle, Brother Lu can ask Sky Feather Tribe's uncle for help. Presumably, with Sky Feather Tribe's uncle's position in the tribe, what Brother Lu asked for will most likely be achieved." Lu Ping's face suddenly showed that he was moved. In fact, he had already thought of this, but he was too embarrassed to say it before. Now that Chu Haitian had pointed it out, it could not be better. However, in the end, Lu Ping chose to be cautious. He only smiled and said, "Let's go take a look first. Perhaps I'm also helpless." Chengling Island, which had been devastated after the war, had been more than a month. Although it had yet to return to its original state, the buildings were gradually recovering. Although this was the area controlled by the three main tribes of the demon race, the buildings here were similar to those of the human race. Although the demon race cultivators they met along the way were all surging with demon chi, they were all in human form. When they saw Lu Ping, although they were a little curious, someone immediately recognized the identity of this North Sea Water Sword immortal and immediately attracted more and more attention. Lu Ping didn't know whether he should laugh or cry when he saw more and more monster cultivators running out and pointing at Lu Ping and Chu Hai. Their divine senses lingered around the two of them, and Lu Ping didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing that Lu Ping's expression was slightly uneasy, Chu Haitian smiled and said, "What's wrong, Brother Lu? Are you still afraid?" Lu Ping shook his head and said, "It's not that I'm afraid. I'm just embarrassed." Chu Haitian smiled and said, "It seems that Brother Lu has no idea how famous you are now." As the two of them chatted and laughed, they had already arrived at a small manor. This manor occupied more than 10 acres and was divided into two parts. Obviously, it had not been built for a long time. Lu Ping followed Chu Haitian all the way to the back. Strange divine sense constantly lingered around them. With his divine sense, Lu Ping could sense at least 7 or 8 different Dharma adepts' divine senses the moment he entered the manor. However, perhaps because Chu Haitian was leading them, Lu Ping did not feel any malice from these divine senses. Chu Haitian turned his head and explained, I think Brother Lu has already noticed that this is the place where the green sea snakes were stationed on Qingling Island. The previous place where we were stationed has been razed to the ground in the previous battle, so it's obviously a little crowded here. Just as the two of them walked to the corner, they heard a slightly angry voice. Flame Spirit Coffin, what are you doing here? This voice was familiar to Lu Ping. It was Chu Hiren, whom he had saved before. Chu Haitian was slightly stunned when he heard the voice, and his face darkened. He could not help but quicken his pace. Then, he heard a slightly frivolous voice say, Haha, little brother Hiren, what are you doing? You are a guest. Moreover, this time, I have come sincerely for Uncle Tianyu. At this time, Chu Haitian and Lu Ping had already arrived at the back of the house. At this time, in the central house, the Flame Spirit Coffin and Chu Hiren were facing each other. Behind the Flame Spirit Coffin was a mid-Dharma adept. The people in the central house had also noticed the arrival of the two of them. When they turned to look, Chu Haitian and Lu Ping happened to walk to the front of the house. When the Flame Spirit Coffin saw Lu Ping behind Chu Haitian, his eyes narrowed, and an almost undetectable cold light flashed across his eyes. Chu Haitian snorted coldly and said, I'm here for my uncle. I don't know what other reason young Master Yin has to think of my tribe, other than to eat the snake soup of the green sea snakes. As soon as Chu Haitian finished speaking, the atmosphere in the central house changed. The aura of the Dharma adepts of the green sea snakes, hidden in the manor, suddenly became fierce. The Flame Spirit Coffin and the mid-Dharma adept of the Fire Phoenix tribe behind him immediately felt a murderous aura approaching them. This was the territory of the green sea snakes. If the green sea snakes really decided to make a move here, the two of them would not be able to leave this place alive. The Flame Spirit Coffin calmed himself down and forced a laugh. He said, Brother Chu, you must be joking. That was just a joke that the Flame Spirit Coffin did not know the ways of the world. Moreover, back then, my grandfather had already apologized to your esteemed sect's Fanyan Laozu. The Fire Phoenix tribe had also paid a huge price. Back then, Fanyan Laozu had already made it clear that he had let this matter go. Brother Chu, are you still going to pursue this matter? Chu Haitian said coldly, although my grandfather had let this matter go, this does not mean that we have forgotten about it. Back then, Brother Yin ordered the practitioners of the Wind Phoenix tribe to go around and rob our tribe members who had yet to transform. Many of our tribe members went missing because of this, including my cousins. We, the Green Sea Snakes, will never forget this matter. Brother Yin, you are not welcome in our tribe. Please leave. The Flame Spirit Coffin's expression changed. He suddenly laughed coldly and said, I originally came here because of your noble Tianyu Laozu's injuries. I did not expect the two of you to dislike me so much. Since this is the case, there is no need for me to take out this life-saving panacea that I obtained from my tribe's Grandmaster Yin Wujiu. I will take my leave now. Lu Ping's expression suddenly changed when he heard Yin Wujiu's message. However, he seemed to have noticed something and quickly concealed this strange expression. After the Flame Spirit Coffin finished speaking, he turned around and was about to leave when he heard a faint sigh. Hold on, boy from the Yin family. Do you really have Grandmaster Yin Wujiu's life-saving panacea in your hands? The Flame Spirit Coffin immediately put down his feet and revealed a proud smile. He hurriedly bowed and said, Is it Fuyu Laozu? Junior Yin Wujiu greets you. A skinny old man suddenly appeared in the central room. Lu Ping's eyes narrowed. This old man was obviously a great practitioner of the late Dharma stage. When Chu Haitian and Chu Haiying saw the old man, they bowed and said, Greetings, Granduncle. Lu Ping also bowed and said, Lu Tianping greets Senior. The old man looked at Lu Ping with interest and said, Oh, you are the Water Sword Celestial of the North Sea? In the battle at the entrance of the Formation Passage, you and Qin Shijun were evenly matched. Your strength is probably above Tsunami. The North Sea has produced a very good talent. Lu Ping did not expect this great practitioner to give him such an evaluation. He hurriedly said, "Senior, you are too kind. I am ashamed. I was just lucky." The old man chuckled and did not comment on Lu Ping's modesty. Instead, he looked at the flame spirit coffin and asked calmly, "Do you have the jade life-extending pill refined by Grandmaster Yin Wujiu?" The flame spirit coffin was no longer as presumptuous as before. He said respectfully, "Yes. Before I went to the 5 islands of the illusory spirits this time, my Grandmaster asked Grandmaster Yin Wujiu for a life-saving panacea for me. It is the jade life-extending pill." Chapter 1065. Generally speaking, the bloodline of the demon race was usually stronger than that of the human race. Demon cultivators were usually able to rely on their instincts to train while they were still in a state of ignorance. Although the human race's bloodline was also said to be a remnant of the bloodline of the 7th patriarch, the human race's bloodline was unusually heterogeneous. Usually, all 7 of the bloodlines were concentrated in one body, which was far less pure than the demon race's bloodline. Even so, the human cultivators were still able to compete with the demon clan in the cultivation world because of their spirituality, which was far superior to that of the demon clan. The manifestation of this spirituality was usually far superior to the number of alchemists, blacksmiths, talisman craftsmen, and so on. It was precisely because of this that among the demon race, the emergence of a master alchemist was usually an extremely rare event. If another master alchemist appeared, his status would be so high that even the leader of a tribe would have to treat him with respect. Moreover, Yin Wujiu was not just an ordinary alchemist master. He could be considered a rare alchemist genius among the Fire Phoenix clan and even among the demon race. Before he had even reached the Dharma stage, he was already a famous alchemist master in the East Sea. Even putting aside the differences between the human and demon races, many of the alchemists in the East Sea sects respected him. After Yin Wujiu had reached the Dharma stage, his alchemy skills had increased by another level. In the whole of the alchemy world of the East Sea, he was recognized as the most authoritative alchemist master in the East Sea by both the human and demon races. It was precisely because of this that even though Yin Wujiu was only an ordinary early Dharma adept in the Fire Phoenix clan, even the leader of the clan, Yin Jiuxiao, had to treat him with respect when he saw him. When the old man heard that the flame spirit coffin did indeed have a jadeite life-extending pill in his hands, a ripple appeared in the old man's eyes. He saw the flame spirit coffin solemnly take out a jade box from his chest, after which he slowly opened the box. A jadeite indifferently appeared in front of everyone. A green light flashed in Lu Ping's eyes, and he heard the elder exclaim, "It really is a life-extending jade pill." The flame spirit coffin smiled proudly and put his hands together, closing the jade box again. He said, "I believe you all know the effects of this life-extending jade pill. As long as Uncle Tianyu takes this pill, he can immediately avoid the danger of his cultivation collapsing and immediately maintain his cultivation at the mid-Dharma stage. In the future, when Mara's crisis is resolved, we can ask our clan's grandmaster to treat him, and he might even be able to recover to the late Dharma stage." Chu Tianyu Laozu's injuries had already been treated by many alchemists from both the human and demon clans, but none of these alchemists could do anything about it. It was said that the best outcome for Chu Tianyu Laozu was to barely maintain his cultivation at the mid-Dharma stage. It was impossible for him to recover, and even if he wanted to maintain his cultivation at the mid-Dharma stage, it would require the help of some renowned alchemist grandmasters. Although Grandmaster Yin Wujiu had not personally seen the extent of Chu Tianyu Laozu's injuries, he was able to maintain Chu Tianyu Laozu's cultivation at the mid-Dharma stage with just one life-extending jade pill. Just this method alone was enough to surpass most of the current alchemists from both the human and demon clans on the 5 islands. Lu Ping stood behind Chu Haitian and watched coldly from the sidelines. He could see that when the life-extending jade pill was taken out by the flame spirit coffin, not only did Chu Haitian and Chu Haiyue's gazes become much more passionate, but even this great practitioner Chu Fuyu's face became much more passionate. However, this flame spirit coffin was the grandson of Yin Jiuxiao, the leader of the Fire Phoenix clan, and seemed to have had a great feud with the green sea snakes in the past. It was naturally impossible for him to be so kind as to present this life-extending jade pill so attentively. Although Chu Fuyu was greatly surprised by the appearance of the life-extending jade pill, he was, after all, an old monster who had lived for thousands of years and had seen many life-and-death situations. Naturally, he would not lose his sense of propriety over a life-extending jade pill. A hint of passion flashed across his face, and he said, "Oh, then what do you want?" The flame spirit coffin rubbed his hands and said, "Senior Fuyu, you are too serious. I heard that Uncle Tianyu had dealt with 2 Azuras for the safety of the nobles, and that was why he had suffered such a serious injury. I admire him very much, so I'm presenting this life-extending jade pill." Chu Fuyu glanced at him with a smile that did not seem like a smile and said, "Since that's the case, you can just take this life-continuing pill back. This old man is not willing to fall out with Yin Jiuxiao over such a pill. Even if my nephew Tianyu finds out about it, he will definitely not agree to it." That's right. A pale-faced practitioner sitting in a wheelchair turned around from behind the screen. Seeing this, Chu Haiying hurriedly went forward to push the wheelchair and complained, "Father, why did you come out?" This pale-faced, middle-aged practitioner was the second-generation great practitioner Chu Tianyu, who had been seriously injured by the Azuras in the green sea snakes. He was actually Chu Haiying's father. Sixth uncle. Tianyu Laozu greeted Chu Fuyu and Laozu from his wheelchair. Only then did he turn to look at the flame spirit coffin, who had a somewhat dry expression on his face, and said, "Grandmaster Yan's life-extending jade pill might really have a miraculous effect on the old man's injuries. But the old man does not wish to owe the Fire Phoenix clan a favor, especially a favor from Yin Jiuxiao. If nephew Yin has any requests, please state them. Otherwise, the old man would rather you take this life-extending jade pill back." The flame spirit coffin was startled and said, "Uncle Tianyu, have you thought it through? Your injuries have damaged your foundation. Without this life-extending jade pill, with the current alchemists on the 5 islands of phantom spirits, there is almost no one who can guarantee your mid-Dharma stage cultivation." Chu Haitian involuntarily glanced at Lu Ping, who was behind him. Lu Ping signaled him not to make a sound, but unexpectedly, Chu Haitian mistakenly thought that Lu Ping had also admitted that he could not save Chu Tianyu's injuries. He could not help but be greatly disappointed. Chu Tianyu smiled slightly and said, "The old man would rather have his cultivation destroyed." All right then. The flame spirit coffin's deceitful and profligate aura was completely swept away, and his temperament suddenly became more profound. He said solemnly, "Since that's the case, then I'll get straight to the point. I hope to exchange this life-continuing pill for your noble clan's azure canopy parasol." Green canopy parasol? Chu Fuyu's eyes narrowed slightly, and he said with a smile, "I see that although you are now at the peak of the early Dharma stage, with your potential and foundation, I dare not say that you will be able to survive the first thunder calamity, but you have at least a 60 to 70% chance of success. Naturally, there is no need for the green canopy parasol. In that case, it should be Yin Jiuxiao. There have long been rumors that Yin Jiuxiao has refused to leave his position as the leader of the Fire Phoenix tribe because he is about to survive the third thunder calamity and achieve the pure Yang Dharma. It seems that the rumors are true." The flame spirit coffin chuckled and said, "Senior Fuyu's torch illuminates 10,000 miles. As expected, I can't hide my thoughts from you. To be honest, my grandfather is indeed preparing for the tribulation. Originally, according to my grandfather's estimation, he has a high chance of achieving the pure Yang Dharma form this time. However, the more treasures that can help in the tribulation, the better. Naturally, I want to contribute a little to grandfather's pure Yang Dharma form." Hearing this, Chu Haiming pursed his lips and said, "You have already used the green canopy parasol, and you still say that the chances of surviving the thunder calamity are high? Who are you trying to bluff?" Hearing this, the flame spirit coffin's expression did not change, and he only smiled slightly, but a fierce look flashed in his eyes. At this time, Chu Tianyu also said seriously, "The green canopy parasol is one of the tribe's most precious treasures, and it cannot be lent to outsiders. Not to mention that the old man's cultivation is almost destroyed. Even if he is on the verge of death, there is no reason for him to lend this item. Nephew Yin, Please return. Marshal Uncle Chu, you have to think carefully. Seeing that Chu Tianyu's expression was calm, a trace of unwillingness flashed across the flame spirit coffin's face, and he turned to Chu Tianyu and said, Senior Fuyu, Uncle Tianyu was considered an outstanding figure among the second generation of the green sea snakes, and together with Uncle Chu Feiyu, they were known as the two peerless geniuses of the green sea snakes. His status is equivalent to that of the current brother Tsunami, and he is the most likely existence among the second generation of the noble clans to achieve the pure Yang Dharma. Are the green sea snakes going to abandon a future pure Yang Laozu just for a green canopy parasol? Moreover, my grandfather is only borrowing it, and he will return it in the future. A trace of hesitation appeared on Chu Tianyu's face, but he still sighed and said, even if the old man agrees, there is no other way. The green canopy parasol is our tribe's most precious treasure, and the old man can't make the decision alone. The flame spirit coffin rolled his eyes and said, the green sea snakes have strict rules, and I am aware of this. But as long as Senior Fuyu agrees, I believe that Uncle Tianyu and Uncle Feiyu will not refuse, given their friendship. Uncle Feiyu is now the leader of your tribe, and he also has the support of Fanyan Laozu, the old pure Yang tribe leader, so there should be no problem in lending the green canopy parasol. At this time, Chu Haimei and the others also saw Chu Fuyu Laozu's hesitation, but unexpectedly, they heard Chu Tianyu say resolutely, this matter is not negotiable during the Duanwu festival. If Nephew Yin has no other business, it is not convenient for the old man to keep you here. See the guest out. Chu Fuyu Laozu opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he heard Chu Tianyu say, Sixth uncle, the green sea snakes will lose a great practitioner, and even if we lose a pure young practitioner in the future, it will not affect our status as the top demon tribe in the sea. But the green canopy parasol is different. It is the crystallization of our sect's great magical practitioners for generations. Even our tribe's practitioners with impure blood are not qualified to use it, let alone outsiders. Chu Fuyu Laozu looked at Chu Tianyu Laozu with a trace of regret on his face, and then he nodded heavily and said, Okay, boy, you can go. The flame spirit coffin looked at Laozu Chu Tianyu and said in a low voice, You really don't want to lend it? No. Okay then. There was not the slightest regret or anger on the flame spirit coffin's face. Instead, a smile suddenly appeared on his face and he said, Actually, this junior has a private request. If the two seniors can agree, this junior can give this life continuation elixir to Tianyu Laozu as a private gift. Patriarch Chu Fuyu raised his head abruptly. His eyes were as sharp as swords as he stared at the flame spirit coffin, forcing the latter to avert his gaze. Brat, are you here to make fun of my Emerald Sea Spirit Snake clan today? Chapter 1066. Chu Fuyu Laozu's sudden outburst not only frightened the flame spirit coffin, but also made Lu Ping and the others feel suffocated under the aura of such a great practitioner. The flame spirit coffin was suppressed by Chu Fuyu Laozu's aura. Its face turned red and it said, Who in this world would dare to make fun of the green sea snakes? Even the 6 holy lands of the human race wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous. Seeing that Chu Fuyu Laozu's aura had subsided a little, the flame spirit coffin took 2 deep breaths and said, I was doing this for the public, but now I'm doing this for personal reasons. I'm not joking. If the 2 seniors agree, I will definitely give you the life-prolonging pill. Chu Tianyu was about to speak, but Chu Fuyu Laozu stopped him. He stared at the flame spirit coffin and said in a cold voice, Speak? The flame spirit coffin said seriously, I was fortunate enough to see Miss Chu Halen's beauty. I was shocked for a while, but I didn't have the chance to see her again. I have always admired her. This life-prolonging pill is my betrothal gift. I hope that I can tie the knot with Miss Chu Hailan. I hope that Senior Fuyu can be the matchmaker. No. Dream on. As soon as the flame spirit coffin finished speaking, 2 voices came out at the same time. The flame spirit coffin turned to look. One was Chu Tianyu in a wheelchair, and the other was Chu Haitian. When the flame spirit coffin looked over, he saw that both Chu Tianyu and Chu Hailan were looking at Chu Haitian in surprise. Chu Haitian looked a little uneasy for a moment. Not to mention the flame spirit coffin. Even Lu Ping found the situation strange. The flame coffin chuckled and said, "Brother Chu, I've asked Uncle Fuyu to marry Miss Chu Hailan. It's understandable if Uncle Tianyu doesn't agree to it. After all, it's said that Miss Chu was raised by Senior Tianyu, and they are like father and daughter. This is also the reason why I want to ask for Uncle Tianyu's hand in marriage. But what does this matter have to do with Brother Chu? Why would you refuse my proposal?" Chu Haitian, who was usually cold and aloof, appeared extremely embarrassed at this moment. However, he still managed to sneer and said, "Has your flame spirit coffin ever lacked women? How many female cultivators of both the human and demon races have been abandoned by you after being toyed with by you? How could Sister Hailan marry someone like you? Moreover, you are a member of the Fire Phoenix clan, and Sister Hailan is a member of the Green Sea Snakes. Sister Hailan will never marry you." The flame spirit coffin smiled wickedly and said, "If she can't marry me, then who will she marry? You, Brother Chu? If I remember correctly, Miss Halen's fiancé who died in the hands of the Crystal Palace should be Brother Chu's cousin, right? Brother Chu, aren't you afraid that Uncle Feiyu and Old Man Fanyan will break your legs? You." A sharp aura around Chu Haitian was like an unsheathed sword. "How dare you?" Lao Tzu was furious. His sharp aura suppressed both the flame spirit coffin and Chu Haitian at the same time. However, no matter how Lu Ping looked at it, the aura was most likely directed at the flame spirit coffin. The matters of the Green Sea Snakes are not something that a kid from the Fire Phoenix clan like you can meddle in. If it wasn't for Yin Jiuxiao, that old man would have already kicked you out of the encampment. The flame spirit coffin looked a little embarrassed, but he still bowed and said, "This junior was reckless." However, this also shows that this junior is infatuated with Miss Hailan and is afraid that she will be snatched away by others. "Please forgive me, Lao Tzu." At this time, Chu Tianyu chuckled and said, "First, you're thinking of ways to borrow the Canopy Green sifting umbrella, and now you want to marry my foster daughter to my clan. Looks like Senior Yin Jiuxiao's situation in the Fire Phoenix clan isn't very good. Whether it's passing the third lightning tribulation and attaining the pure Yang avatar, or obtaining the support of my Chu Tianyu lineage in the Jade Sea Spirit Snake clan, all of these are greatly beneficial to Senior Yin Jiuxiao in stabilizing his position in the Fire Phoenix clan, right?" The flame spirit coffin's expression changed, and then he said seriously, "Uncle Tianyu, you have wronged me. I have no feelings for Miss Hailan." "Enough." Chu Tianyu interrupted the flame spirit coffin's explanation and said, "Kid, the old man understands what you mean. You can take this life-extending pill first." The flame spirit coffin opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he heard Chu Tianyu suddenly say, "But," Chu Tianyu's, but made the flame spirit coffin, who had gained almost nothing from this trip, immediately raise his spirits. Chu Haitian, who had just relaxed a little, suddenly clenched his hands. Lu Ping saw all of this, but from the beginning until the end, he didn't say a word. "However, the old man will consider what you said, so you can keep the life-extending pill for now. Maybe the old man will come to you in person after a period of time." The flame spirit coffin knew that there was a turning point in the matter, and he immediately said happily, "How could I dare to trouble you to come in person, Lao Tzu? You only need to inform me, and I will immediately give it to you. However, Uncle Tianyu's injury will not wait for anyone. If it is delayed for too long, I am afraid that even Grandmaster Yin will not be able to do anything." Watching the flame spirit coffin leave, Chu Haitian immediately said anxiously, "Sixth Grandpa, shut up." Chu Tianyu shouted and scolded Lao Tzu. "Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough?" Chu Haiying muttered, "Sister Hailan was only engaged to my cousin. They are not married yet. Why can't she be with Brother Tsunami? Good things should be kept within the family. It's better than letting someone like the flame spirit coffin take advantage of her." Chu Tianyu stared at him and said, "What did you say?" Chu Hailan said, "No, nothing." He looked at the place where Chu Haitian was, with a helpless expression. Chu Tianyu looked at Fuyu Laozu and said, "Sixth uncle, Hailan is my adopted daughter. I don't want to force her with this kind of thing. Don't you understand the interests of the tribe?" Chu Tianyu glanced at Lu Ping, who was standing behind Chu Haitian. Seeing Chu Haitian's agitated expression and Chu Tianyu's troubled expression, he said, "We have a guest today. Let's talk about this later." Only then did Chu Haitian remember that Lu Ping was behind him. Naturally, he also remembered the purpose of inviting Lu Ping here. He immediately realized that the crux of the matter he was worried about was Chu Tianyu's injury. Chu Haishao was very clear that the exchange of benefits between tribes would often not take personal feelings into consideration. Chu Hailan was born of the fire snake lineage of the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan, and her innate aptitude had already limited her. No matter how hard she worked, it was impossible for her individual achievements to compare with a great cultivator like Chu Tianyu. Moreover, it was obvious that Yin Jiuxiao had used the life-continuing pill to beg the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan. Naturally, he could use this as an excuse to obtain even more benefits for the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan from Yin Jiuxiao's hands. In fact, at this moment, Chu Fuyu, who was a member of the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan's Elder Council, was already somewhat moved. Yes. This time, I invited Brother Lu here from Soul Gathering Island to treat Uncle Tianyu's injury. Brother Lu is already a pill refinement grandmaster. Now that the 5 islands of illusionary spirits are besieged, not only has Brother Lu's cultivation and strength shown brilliantly, your pill refinement skills have also become famous. Now, you are known as the #1 pill refiner in the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. Looking at Chu Haitian's hopeful expression, Lu Ping had no choice but to pat him on the shoulder and say, "I don't deserve to be called the #1 pill refiner. It's all the flattery of many fellow cultivators. To be honest, with Senior Yan's life continuing pill in front of me, I'm still a little uncertain." Lu Ping originally came because of Chu Haitian's invitation to see the extent of Chu Tianyu Laozu's injury, but now it seemed that this matter was obviously involved in the secret game between the Green Sea Snake and the Fire Phoenix clan. If he rashly intervened, he would probably be hated by the Flame Spirit Coffin based on his contact with him during this period of time. At that time, it would be a small matter if he offended the Flame Spirit Coffin, but Zhenling was just a medium-sized sect, and it would not dare to offend a behemoth like the Fire Phoenix clan. At this time, Chu Tianyu Laozu said, "It turns out that Lu Xiaoyu not only has such outstanding cultivation and strength among your peers, but also has such great attainments in pill refinement. Lu Xiaoyu, just go ahead and check. Whether or not he can be cured, the old man will owe you a favor." Chu Tianyu had obviously seen Lu Ping's concerns. These old monsters were all hundreds of years old. How could Lu Ping's thoughts be hidden from them? Chu Fuyu did not take Chu Tianyu's promise to heart, but asked, listening to Lu Xiaoyu's tone, "It seems that you know Grandmaster Yin?" Lu Ping was taken aback and had to say, "When I was traveling in the East China Sea, I was fortunate enough to meet Senior Yin and receive guidance from Senior Yin." Chu Haitian did not expect that Lu Ping had received guidance from Yin Wujiao, and the eagerness in his heart increased by 30%. Even Chu Fuyu had a more favorable impression of Lu Ping. Lu Ping could not help but smile bitterly in his heart. This time, it seemed that he could not avoid it. Lu Ping's finger was placed on Chu Tianyu's pulse, and a pure qi suddenly flowed up along the bloodline. At the same time, his divine thoughts also explored Chu Tianyu's body. Although Chu Tianyu's source was damaged, most of his qi was still left, but it was in a disordered state, surging and tumbling in his bloodline like a stormy sea. However, Lu Ping's strand of true essence was like a small boat in his bloodline. It was able to trace the source of the surging true essence waves. "Hey!" Chu Tianyu glanced at Lu Ping in surprise. Although he had lost most of the control of the qi in his body, his divine thoughts were undamaged. He was naturally aware of the situation when Lu Ping's qi entered his body. The alchemists he had found before, including the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan's Grand Master, when they examined his injuries, were unable to smoothly trace their true essence along his bloodline due to the roaring waves of true essence in his body. Every time, Chu Tianyu had to pay a great price to try his best to restrain the true essence in his body to cooperate with these alchemists' examination. But now Lu Ping obviously did not need to do so at all. His qi could actually maintain its stability under the impact of Chu Tianyu's qi. What a pure qi, what a strong bloodline. However, what surprised Chu Tianyu even more was that Lu Ping's qi was obviously a water attribute cultivation method. not the wood or fire attribute qi that ordinary alchemists usually needed. This was a bit interesting. Chapter 1067. Chu Tianyu's essence was also damaged, but his condition was different from Tiancheng Laozu's. Chu Tianyu's essence had only been shattered during the battle with the Azuras, but not lost. Although this left a trace of possibility for Chu Tianyu to recover his cultivation and even not affect his future improvement, if he couldn't be cured, the result would be even worse than that of a great ancestor in Tianqing, whose cultivation had been cut off. Lu Ping's examination of Chu Tianyu ended very quickly, but Chu Haitian had been waiting anxiously at the side. Seeing that Lu Ping had stopped, he was about to step forward to ask, but he was glared at by Laozu Chu Fuyu, and Lu Ping himself was lost in thought. After a while, Lu Ping suddenly came to his senses and realized that there were 4 Dharma adepts waiting for his results. 2 of them were even at the level of a grand cultivator. "Seniors, I'm really sorry. I was too engrossed in my thoughts just now." Chu Haitian dared not speak after being glared at by Chu Fuyu, but Chu Tianyu smiled and said, "It's okay. The more Lu Xiaoyu is like this, the more the old man will think highly of you." The alchemists before gave their results after a simple examination, and even the alchemy grandmaster who accompanied us to guard Qingling Island this time has already concluded that the best result for the old man is to maintain his mid-dharma cultivation. But after thinking for so long, do you have any different opinions? Chu Haiyu immediately jumped up upon hearing this and said, "Brother Lu, do you really have any way to restore father's cultivation? Even if it can't be restored, it's fine if it can keep his injuries from worsening. As long as we can wait until Mara's army retreats, we can personally ask Grandmaster Yin to come and treat father. Grandmaster Yin has a high status in the Fire Phoenix clan, and as long as Grandmaster Yin is willing, even Yin Jiuxiao would not dare to restrict him." Lu Ping hesitated for a moment and said, "If it's just to ease the deterioration of Senior Tianyu's internal injuries, this isn't too difficult for this junior." Chu Tianyu and Chu Fuyu exchanged glances. Chu Haijin clapped her hands and said with a smile, "That's great. We don't have to see the ugly face of the flame coffin anymore. Brother Lu, please save my father." Lu Ping nodded. At this moment, Chu Haitian, who was behind Lu Ping, could no longer hold it in and said, "Brother Lu, are you confident in healing Uncle Tianyu's injuries?" Chu Tianyu and Chu Fuyu did not speak. In fact, the 2 of them had already heard the meaning behind Lu Ping's previous words. Although they did not believe that Lu Ping could heal Chu Tianyu's injuries, Lu Ping's identity as an alchemy grandmaster was unmistakable. Listening to the results would at least help them in making decisions in the future. However, the 2 of them had a lot of scruples because of their identities, so they allowed Chu Haitian to ask directly. Lu Ping hesitated for a moment before saying, "There is indeed a kind of pill that can help Tianyu Laozu's injuries. However, this pill is extremely difficult to refine, and the chances of a complete recovery are extremely small." Complete recovery? An unfamiliar voice suddenly came from outside the room. A stocky late-stage core forging realm cultivator walked in. He glanced at Lu Ping, then bowed to Chu Fuyu and Chu Tianyu. He sneered and said, "Even if I am not skilled, I know that even Grandmaster Yin Wujiu would not dare to say that there is a glimmer of hope in curing Uncle Tianyu's injuries. Even the Jadeite life-extending pill can only delay Brother Tianyu's injuries. How dare you surpass Grandmaster Yin Wujiu?" Lu Ping did not know who this person was. Chu Haitian, who was next to him, quickly introduced him. "This is my clan's alchemy grandmaster, Taoist Master Chu Yu." Lu Ping saw that although Taoist Master Chu Yu's cultivation was only at the core forging realm, he repeatedly questioned Lu Ping after entering the central room. He was only slightly respectful towards Chu Fuyu and Chu Tianyu Laozu. From this, Lu Ping knew that this grandmaster probably had a very high status in Zhenling. Taoist Master Chu Yu hurried over when he heard that the Fire Phoenix clan had brought the life-extending pill. However, he was still too late. The flame spirit coffin had already left, but he happened to run into Lu Ping, who had just finished examining Chu Tianyu Laozu's injuries. Lu Ping smiled slightly and said, "The Jadeite life-extending pill is indeed a rare healing medicine in the cultivation world. However, although the life-extending pill has a significant effect on various injuries, Its true value lies in its wide range of application. The quality of the effect is secondary. In other words, almost all injuries can be included in the healing range of the life-extending pill. However, for some special injuries, some treatment methods for the symptoms may be even more effective than the life-extending pill that is originally not very effective. Taoist Master Chu Yu was stunned. He was a true alchemy grandmaster, so he naturally knew that what Lu Ping said was not false. However, he did not believe that Lu Ping really had a treatment method for the symptoms, so he said, "Although what you said is not false, the old man does not believe that you really have such a method." Lu Ping did not care about arguing with this alchemy grandmaster. He pondered for a moment and asked, "Have you heard of the spiritual water spirit attraction pill?" Spiritual water spirit attraction pill? What is that? Taoist Master Chu Yu asked. He was stunned for a moment and asked hesitantly, "Are you talking about a pill refined by the spiritual water alchemy technique?" Lu Ping saw that although the other party's attitude was bad before, he was also a person with real talent, so he did not mock him. Instead, he nodded and said, "Yes, it is the spiritual water alchemy technique." Chu Yu asked in surprise, "I heard that there was a cultivator who mastered the ancient flowing water alchemy technique in the North Sea cultivation world." The old man did not believe it at first, but later I heard from Grandmaster Yin that it was true. I did not expect that the person who inherited the spiritual water alchemy technique would be you. Chu Haiming took the opportunity to add, 13th uncle, I'm afraid you still don't know, but Brother Lu was also guided by Grandmaster Yin. Oh, there's such a thing? When Chu Yu heard that, he no longer looked at Lu Ping with a scrutinizing gaze. Lu Ping took out a jade slip from his storage device, and a blue light flashed in his hand. Then, he handed the jade slip to Taoist Master Chu Yu and said, "This contains the various spiritual herbs and spiritual items needed to refine the spiritual water spirit attraction pill. I'm confident that even if Grandmaster Yin has other methods to treat Tianyu Laozu's injuries, he will still need most of the herbs in this list. So, you can collect the precious items according to the list I've copied and make preparations in advance." Lu Ping knew that they would not make a choice in a short time after getting his judgment, so he said, "In that case, I'll take my leave first." Chu Haitian suddenly shivered as if he had thought of something bad. He hurriedly said, "Brother Lu, I'll see you off." Chu Haiming also followed suit and said, "I'll go too." After Lu Ping left, Chu Yu was still reading the contents of the jade slip with a frown. Chu Fuyu and Chu Tianyu looked at each other and said, 13th brother, what do you think?" Chu Yu passed the jade slip to Chu Fuyu and said, "Truthfully speaking, I can't make up my mind. Even though the jade slip doesn't record the specific method of refining this medicinal pill, I can make some guesses based on the spiritual herbs and spiritual objects he listed. It should roughly be using the spirituality of a spiritual object as a catalyst to reform Seventh Brother's scattered quintessence. It does make sense, but the process of healing is extremely dangerous. The slightest mistake will definitely cause Seventh Brother's cultivation to disperse." Chu Fuyu passed the jade slip to Chu Tianyu and said, "Let's collect the spiritual herbs and spiritual items according to this kid's recipe first. Even if we don't need him to refine the spirit-drawing pill, didn't he say that even Grandmaster Yin would need to use most of the things recorded in it?" Chu Yu hesitated for a moment and said, "Even though most of the spiritual herbs and spiritual items recorded in it are extremely rare, it's not impossible to collect them with the resources of our clan, but it will take some effort. However, there's an item that's difficult to find at the moment." "What is it?" "The 10,000 Wonder Dew is an extremely crucial step in refining this pill." Chu Fuyu and Laozu were stunned. "Wonder Dew? It's just a mid-grade heaven-rank treasure. How could our clan not have it?" Chu Yu shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Even though it's a mid-grade heaven-rank treasure, its value isn't inferior to a high-grade heaven-rank treasure. Moreover, it's extremely rare, but it has a wide range of uses. Even our clan probably doesn't have it left." Chu Fuyu and Laozu asked with slight reluctance, "Even if we don't have it, can we use something else to replace it? I have a type of heaven-rank high-grade spirit water with me right now." Chu Yu still shook his head and said, "No, not only does the spirit-drawing pill need the Wonder Dew spirituality as a guide, It also needs its vitality to nourish its source. Otherwise, even if we use other spiritual items to replenish seventh brother's essence, I'm afraid our lifespan will be greatly reduced. Chu Tianyu and Lao Zu smiled. Since we can't find the Wonder Dew in a short period of time, then we'll first prepare other spiritual herbs. We'll think of a way to invite Grandmaster Yin once the siege of the illusory spirit 5 Islands is lifted. Chu Yu sighed and said, I'm afraid we won't be able to invite Grandmaster Yin without Yin Zhuxiao's approval. Chu Fuyu had been suppressing a bellyful of anger since a long time ago when he saw Chu Yu spew out a string of unfavorable words. He immediately said angrily, Does Yin Zhuxiao dare to imprison Yin Wuju? Isn't he afraid that all the alchemists in the alchemy world will make things difficult for his Fire Phoenix clan? Chu Yu said, although he didn't imprison him, I'm afraid he put him under house arrest in the name of protection. I heard that Grandmaster Yin has a disciple who was born in the Wood Phoenix clan and has always been under Grandmaster Yin's protection. Now that Yin Zhuxiao is undergoing his third lightning tribulation and is about to condense his pure young avatar, he has set his sights on Grandmaster Yin's disciple. However, Grandmaster Yin has noticed this a long time ago and has hidden this disciple somewhere. In his rage, Yin Zhuxiao placed Grandmaster Yin under house arrest in the name of protection. Chu Tianyu seemed to have thought of something and said, in other words, there are only 2 ways for the old man to recover from his injuries. One is to lower his head to the Fire Phoenix clan and form an alliance with Yin Zhuxiao, and the other is to gamble on Lu Tianping, a cultivator from the North Sea. Chu Yu nodded and said, That's right. That's why I've been provoking him all this time, wanting him to reveal even more of his true abilities. I didn't expect this kid to be very calm and didn't fall for it in the end. However, this list of spiritual herbs more or less proves that this kid isn't shooting blindly. Chapter 1068. On a reef outside Soul Gathering Island, Junling and a few other cultivators were fighting with a group of Mara. Damn it, I was careless. I didn't expect this group of Mara to be so cunning. They actually knew to set up a trap to ambush us. Sage Xianyong pushed the magic treasure in his hand, and a series of explosions sounded dozens of feet in front of him. Countless flames rose and burned several Mara until they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. It's all because of you. You advance rashly every time because of greed. Isn't it just a list? Is it worth it for you to work so hard? The voiceless flying sword in Sage Xianling's hand easily dissolved the soul-devouring magic of a demonic cultivator amidst a soft bell sound, and then the demonic cultivator's heart was pierced by the voiceless flying sword. Sage Xianhong slapped away a demonic cultivator that had pounced on him and said with a smile, Junior sister Xianling, don't you know? A few days ago, junior brother Xianyong had his eyes on a jasper hairpin. That jasper hairpin is worth 5 big Mara's original essence. But I don't know who junior brother Xianyong is going to give that jasper hairpin to. Having said that, Sage Xianhong laughed strangely again. Sage Xianyong's face was already abnormally red because he had cultivated fire attribute skills, and now it looked like blood was seeping out of his face. He hit a great demonic cultivator in the air until his body was ablaze, but he even forgot to collect the original essence. He roared, Senior brother Xianhong, you're very talkative. Looks like we'll have to fight after we return to the island. Sage Xianheng's laughter stopped abruptly, but Du Feng suddenly said coldly, Blood Shura is here. The 3 of them were startled. When they turned to look, they really saw a blood-red light cutting through the sky and coming toward the island where they were. Sage Xianyong laughed and said, It's been a long time since I fought with Blood Shura. We've all improved a lot during this time. Why don't we join forces and fight? Immortal Xianling gnashed her teeth in hatred and scolded, Fight? What fight? Can't you see that there are 7 or 8 big Mara around? Will they let us join forces to attack Blood Shura? Xianyong was scolded into submission by perfected Xianling. Perfected Xianhong said helplessly, We're surrounded now and can't escape. Let's ask for help. Xianfeng raised his hand, and a white light exploded into the sky. It could be seen from 100 miles away. However, this signal for help did not receive any reinforcements. Instead, a beam of light cut through the sky again from afar. It was another blood Shura rushing over. Xin Yong pushed Xian Ling away and fought against the blood Shura that came first. Before a mouthful of blood fell on the sea, it ignited a wall of fire in midair. The four of them took the opportunity to escape, but before they could go 5 miles, another blood Azura rushed out from the side and blocked their way. It's over. I've failed miserably in such an easy task. I've come out to hunt, and yet I've been ambushed by the blood Azura. As soon as he finished speaking, the void in front of the four of them suddenly shook. A pair of flying swords jumped out of the void and took down 2 blood Shuras. The thin water sword slashed the blood Shura that was chasing them from behind out of the beam of light, while the long stream sword circled around and trapped the blood Shura that dared to intercept them in a sword-light vortex. Seeing this, the four of them did not waste any more time. They swept past blood Azura, who was swept up in the whirlpool, and returned to the spirit-gathering island. Behind them, a small team of Devil Azura led by 5 or 6 Grand Devil Azuras followed. Not long after the four of them left, the 2 blood Shuras also broke free from the entanglement of the 2 flying swords. The 2 flying swords hovered in midair and then paused in midair, as if to confirm what the 2 blood Shuras would do next. When they saw that the 2 Shuras did not move, the 2 flying swords drew a semicircle in midair, forming a perfect circle. Then the void in the circle was suddenly broken, revealing a dark hole. The 2 flying swords drilled into the hole and disappeared, and the broken void gradually returned to its original state. After seeing the 2 flying swords disappear, the 2 blood Shuras finally did not have the courage to chase after them. After hesitating for a while, they flew away from the place. Although Xin Yong and the other 3 had escaped from the ambush of Mara, the 4 of them did not look too good and were silent along the way. Seeing that they were about to reach the soul-gathering island and the light of the island's protective array was already visible in the distance, Xin Yong could not help but curse silently, his face showing anger. Although Jinren Xianhong was the weakest among the 4 of them, he was the most experienced. Seeing the depressing atmosphere, he smiled and said, all right. No matter what, it can be considered as a narrow escape from death." Jinren Xianyong immediately said loudly, "We can't ask for help every time we are in danger. At the end of the day, we are still not strong enough. Let's not talk about the 6 major sections. Nowadays, which major sect doesn't have a Dharma adept as the leader of their 3rd-generation disciples?" Jinren Xianyong paused, as if feeling that the anger in his heart had not been vented. He continued, "Our Zhenling is about to have the qualifications to be a major sect, but us 3rd-generation disciples are completely different from the direct descendants of those major sects." Jinren Xianheng's expression did not look good either, but he still comforted him. "Isn't there still junior brother Lu? He is a genuine 3rd-generation elite cultivator. Which sect in the cultivation world does not recognize him?" It would have been better if he had not mentioned Lu Ping, but the mention of Lu Ping made Xin Yong even angrier. He is an anomaly. How much help do you think he has received from the sect along the way? It can't be said that there is none, but it is very little. What about us? Everyone was silent again. At this time, Jinren Xianhong spoke again. "Yes, just now that sword teleportation, he blocked 2 blood shuras in one go. Junior brother Lu's strength is becoming more and more unfathomable." As soon as Jinren Xianhong finished speaking, he wanted to slap himself. Obviously, he had said the wrong thing again. Sure enough, Jinren Xianyong, who had been glared at by Jinren Xianling, spoke again. "The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Among us 3rd-generation disciples, apart from the monster junior brother Lu, only senior brother Xian Tian is qualified to break through to the Dharma manifestation stage. But now he is only preparing to condense his 3rd heaven and earth spirit item. I don't know what grade of golden core he has achieved. How can we, the 3rd generation, compare to the 3rd-generation cultivators of those major sects? Do we have to rely on junior brother Lu for everything?" Jinren Xianling could not help but sigh. "Our sect may be progressing a little too fast, but our foundation is still not as good as those major sects that have thousands of years of accumulation." Jinren Xianhong retorted, "That's not right. I heard that Xian Chu is also condensing his third heaven and earth spirit item. Xian seems to have reached the 9th stage of the core forging stage. There are also senior brothers Xian Hui, Xian Ru, Xian Kai, Xian Yuan, Xian Bei, and a few other senior brothers and sisters who are almost at the 8th or 9th stage of the core forging stage. Jinren Xianyong said, but we are still too slow. Haven't you noticed that in the current cultivation world, the older generation cultivators are giving up their positions? The first generation cultivators retire, the second generation cultivators take over, but it is the third generation cultivators who are truly outstanding in the cultivation world. More specifically, it is the third generation cultivators who have advanced to the Dharma manifestation stage. But now, our sect only has junior brother Lu to support it, and we are weak. Jinren Xianling saw that Jinren Xianyong's words were beginning to affect her sect's morale, so she interrupted. All right. Our sect still has junior brother Lu. Among the other sects in the North Sea, which third-generation cultivators have a Dharma manifestation cultivator? Jinren Xianyong rarely rebuked Jinren Xianling. He said, you can't say that. Since our sect wants to become a large sect, we naturally cannot limit our sites to these ordinary medium-sized sections. Even if it is a medium-sized sect, whether it is the South Seas Jade Forest sect or the East Seas Hidden Fog sect, which one of them doesn't have a third-generation Dharma manifestation cultivator? Jinren Xianling was left speechless by his words, but her heart was filled with anger. She secretly decided that once she returned to Spirit Gathering Island, she would definitely teach Jinren Xian a lesson. At this time, Du Feng, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, the 4th generation. Jinren Xianyong was startled. He didn't understand. He asked, what? Jinren Xianheng's eyes brightened. He said, that's right. Our sect's 4th generation cultivators do not lose to the other sections. Right now, our sect's 4th generation cultivators have already reached the middle core forging realm. This speed of progress is not inferior to those orthodox large sects. After a long time, Jinren Xianyong finally said, after we return to Spirit Gathering Island, I will go into seclusion. In the overseas human cultivation world, there were 25 medium-sized sects stationed on Spirit Gathering Island and Spirit Origin Island. However, only Jinling's family had shown brilliantly thanks to Lu Tianping. In addition to Jinling's status as an alchemist grandmaster, all the sects knew that Jinling was aiming to become the first large sect in the North Sea after 400 years. Especially after the Battle of Qingling Island, the story of the 6 most outstanding third-generation cultivators of both human and demon clans fighting against the Azuras in the gap spread far and wide across the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. Every day, 5 out of 10 cultivators who came to visit Spirit Gathering Island were here for Jinling's sect. As time passed, various kinds of rumors began to spread. One of the most important ones was the polarization of the cultivation of Jinling's third-generation cultivators. Or perhaps it could be said that polarization was a compliment. Lu Tianping outshone Jinling's third-generation cultivators. Half of Jinling's prestige in Spirit Gathering 5 Islands was due to him. They were both third-generation cultivators, and they were all direct descendants of Jinling's third-generation cultivators. Why was the gap so big? In the end, it was just a medium-sized sect. Did they think that just because they had a genius, they could stand shoulder to shoulder with those large sects? They only valued Lu Tianping, not Jinling. These days, Master Xianyong and the others had had enough of the cynicism and ridicule directed at Jinling. Fortunately, Jinling's unity had always been good. As these rumors increased, they realized that someone was playing tricks behind the scenes. Naturally, the other sects were happy to take advantage of the situation and instigate the antagonism between the third-generation cultivators of Jinling. However, Master Xianyong and the others were proud people. Although they did not resent Lu Ping because of this, they still felt indignant. However, this anger was used to reflect on themselves and instead stimulated their desire to improve. After the 4 of them returned to Spirit Gathering Island, the void above the island shook and Lu Ping walked out. Behind him was Chu Haidong. Chu Haidong smiled and said, the senior brothers of your sect are very ambitious. It seems that the recent rumors about your sect have the opposite effect. Lu Ping sneered and said, "It's just some dirty tricks. If our sect can't even resist such rumors, then we don't need to attack the large sects." The two of them hovered in the air and looked in the direction that Master Xin Yong and the others had left. The void shook again, and the thin water-flowing sword came out. It circled around Lu Ping and then disappeared into Lu Ping's body. Chu Haidong saw this and said, "Brother Lu's flying sword is probably at the last step, right?" Recently, the 5 islands of phantom spirits have attracted several spiritual treasure lightning tribulations. "Brother Lu, do you want to give it a try?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "There's no rush. It's better for this pair of flying swords to settle for a while." Chu Haidong smiled and said, "That's true. I don't know how many spiritual treasure lightning tribulations have been completed, but I heard that 2 of them have been destroyed. Transforming a spiritual treasure into a spiritual treasure is both easy and difficult. However, this also shows that the pressure on spiritual treasures is too great. It seems that during the recent war between the human and demon clans in Mara, many spiritual treasures have been destroyed, right?" Chu Haidong sighed and said, "That's right. My father's second tribulation spiritual treasure was almost destroyed. Although the weapon spirit was preserved, I don't know when it will recover." Lu Ping smiled and asked, "Speaking of Senior Tianyu's injury, how is he now?" Chu Haidong glanced at Lu Ping and said, "Brother Lu, do you want to know if my father's injury was caused by the flame coffin's life-prolonging pill or by Brother Lu's spiritual water refining technique?" Lu Ping neither admitted nor denied it. Chu Haidong continued, "Actually, the reason why I invited Brother Lu to participate in the trade fair is to collect the materials that Lu Ping listed for refining the spiritual water refining pill. However, before that, I would like to ask Brother Lu to follow me back to Qingling Island." "Why?" Chu Haidong smiled bitterly. "This is actually Brother Haijiao's idea. He was grounded by 6th Grandpa because of his relationship with Sister Hailan. Brother Lu's invitation to participate in the trade fair just happened to give him a chance to escape. Now that you have a lot of face, even 6th Grandpa can't refuse. When the time comes, Father can just say a few words and Brother Haijiao's punishment will only exist in name." Lu Ping smiled and said, "So your clan intends to use my method?" "You can say that." Chu Haidong said, "Yes, 6th Grandpa still seems to be a little distrustful of you. I heard from Brother Hai Xiao that the 2 of you originally had a deal to make with Sister Halen's introduction. However, you were unwilling to reveal your request. Brother Hai Xiao said that you probably have a big plan, which is why he tried his best to help us again and again. It's so that we can't refuse your request in the future." Lu Ping was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled and said, "Brother Hai Xiao is a man of few words, but others can't hide their thoughts from him." Chapter 1069. The rumors had dealt quite a heavy blow to many of the third-generation cultivators in Zhenling. Even Lu Ping could not step forward to say anything. Fortunately, the relationship between the disciples in Zhenling was pretty good. Thus, the provocative words had the opposite effect when it came to Zhenling. Currently, the third-generation cultivators were either cultivating or hunting down Mara. On the surface, everything seemed to be the same as before, but in fact, everyone had advanced a lot. Naturally, Tiankong Laozu was happy to see this happen. He no longer paid any attention to the rumors. Ever since he heard about Yin Wujiu from the Green Sea Snakes, Lu Ping had the intention to inquire about the Fire Phoenix clan from Chu Haiming. In fact, Chu Haiming did not know much about the situation of the Fire Phoenix clan. At the very least, it was about the same as what Lu Ping had learned through other means. The old patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan, Yin Jiuxiao, was an extremely tyrannical figure. He had occupied the throne of the Fire Phoenix clan's patriarch for 500 years. Before Chu Fanyun, the former patriarch of the Green Sea Snakes, became the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan, Yin Jiuxiao was already the leader of the Fire Phoenix clan. However, after Chu Fanyun stepped down and Chu Feiyu took over as the patriarch, Yin Jiuxiao continued to occupy the position of patriarch. Logically speaking, after the rise of the second-generation cultivators of the Green Sea Snakes, as the first-generation cultivator, Yin Jiuxiao should have stepped down and retired. However, this old patriarch's desire for power was extremely strong. During his 500 years in office, he had cultivated a large number of direct descendants. Furthermore, he had obtained the support of the highly respected members of the clan. Thus, he had always dominated the position of patriarch. The Fire Phoenix clan was free and unrestrained. They were originally an extremely undisciplined demon clan. Although they were known as one of the 3 great demon clans in the Eastern Sea, in reality, the Fire Phoenix clan was not as strong as the Green Sea Snakes, nor as united as the Kuan fish. When there were real struggles over the distribution of benefits, the Fire Phoenix clan would often be defeated by the other clans. However, ever since Yin Jiuxiao took up the position of patriarch, he began to decisively reform the Fire Phoenix clan with the help of several knowledgeable experts of the Fire Phoenix clan. As a result, the Fire Phoenix clan began to truly acknowledge the entire clan. Their power was effectively consolidated, and their prestige in the Eastern Sea grew with each passing day, surpassing that of the Green Sea Snakes. From this point of view, Yin Jiuxiao could truly be considered an extremely talented and bold person in the Fire Phoenix clan. During the 300 years he had been the clan chief, the Fire Phoenix clan had always been on the rise. However, after 300 years of reform, the Fire Phoenix clan was already on the right track. It was time for the Fire Phoenix clan's patriarch to step down and pass his position to someone more capable. However, at this time, this old patriarch, who had an extremely strong desire for power, refused to step down. This caused a huge uproar within the Fire Phoenix clan, and the Fire Phoenix clan began to split. A portion of the newly risen 2nd and 3rd generation cultivators of the Fire Phoenix clan split off from Yin Jiuxiao's power with the support of several first-generation experts who had originally supported Yin Jiuxiao's reform. They requested Yin Jiuxiao to step down from the position of patriarch and obtain the approval of a considerable portion of the ordinary cultivators of the Fire Phoenix clan. At this time, some conservative forces who had originally opposed the reform also jumped out to attack Yin Jiuxiao wantonly. Yin Jiuxiao had clearly overestimated the results of his 300 years of hard work. It was true that he had gathered a group of direct descendants around him, and he had also won over a portion of the ordinary cultivators of the Fire Phoenix clan due to his 300 years of prestige. However, his tyrannical nature and his refusal to listen to any opposing opinions were also criticized by others. Although the Fire Phoenix clan had been on the rise for the past 300 years, there had been many strategic mistakes during this period, and most of them were caused by Yin Jiuxiao's tyrannical nature. For the past 200 years, Yin Jiuxiao had always been working hard to reunite the divided Fire Phoenix clan under his control. Thus, he set his goal on the 3rd lightning tribulation. He believed that once he achieved the pure young avatar, his authority in the Fire Phoenix clan would undoubtedly increase. At the same time, he would also be able to win over a few of the neutral factions that had drifted between the 3 great powers to his side. However, even though Yin Jiuxiao had not neglected his cultivation for the past 500 years, it had still dragged down his cultivation progress. Wanting to overcome his 3rd lightning tribulation in such a short period of time was truly beyond his ability, so he had thought of borrowing external help. At this time, the wooden phoenix minor repairs that Grandmaster Flame's spirit coffin had originally protected had gradually entered the eyes of the Fire Phoenix clan's great powers as he grew. Yin Jiuxiao had made the first move, but the Flame spirit coffin had long sensed this and had already sent the wooden phoenix Luanyu away. Other than the Flame spirit coffin, no one else knew of his whereabouts. The Flame spirit coffin was known as the #1 alchemist grandmaster overseas and had a great reputation among the Fire Phoenix clan. Many people in the Fire Phoenix clan, from the Dharma laws to the low-level cultivators, had received favors from him. Even Yin Jiuxiao had begged the Flame spirit coffin several times. Thus, although Yin Jiuxiao hated the Flame spirit coffin to the core, he did not dare to do anything to the Flame spirit coffin. He could only use the excuse of protecting the Flame spirit coffin and put him under house arrest. After bidding farewell to Chu Hairen, Lu Ping stayed on Spirit Gathering Island for a few days before heading to Phantom City. In the west of Phantom City, outside a courtyard that was covered by a formation, Lu Ping took out a jade talisman from his storage artifact and pasted it on the courtyard's door. The protective formation dispersed like a stream of light. Lu Ping gently pushed the door open, and a wave of heat rushed out. If an ordinary person was here, this wave of heat would be enough to turn them into barbecue. As soon as Lu Ping stepped into the courtyard, the door behind him closed behind him, blocking out the heat wave from entering the courtyard. Haha, so it's Lu Xiaoyu. Looking at the days, it's about time you came. Rongqing Laozu was already standing in the courtyard. When he saw Lu Ping enter, he immediately laughed loudly. Lu Ping also cupped his hands slightly and said, I'm ashamed to say this. Senior Rong, she recently advanced to the Dharma Law's stage, but I didn't come to congratulate her. Rongqing Laozu waved his hands and said with a smile, a few days ago, junior sister Rong, she had just condensed her Dharma Laws and was in seclusion to stabilize her cultivation. Even if you wanted to see her, you couldn't. As they spoke, the two of them walked into the central hall. An ordinary-looking middle-aged female cultivator was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the central hall. A flame was constantly circling around the middle-aged female cultivator, and the surging heat waves were coming from the flame. Junior sister, this is fellow Taoist Lu Tianping of Zhenling. The middle-aged female cultivator opened her eyes, and the flame disappeared into her mouth. She stood up and bowed slightly to Lu Ping. Thank you for your help, fellow Taoist Tianping. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have died. Lu Ping hurriedly returned the bow and said, You're too polite. After the three of them exchanged greetings, the middle-aged female cultivator, Rongxi Laozu, smiled and said, Fellow Taoist, you're here for the nether water sword, right? Lu Ping nodded and said with a smile, I shouldn't have been so hasty. It's just that when I thought that this might be the first spiritual treasure that was born under my hands, I couldn't help but feel a little anxious. I've made Senior laugh at me. Rongxi Laozu smiled and said, That's human nature. After saying that, she waved her hand, and suddenly there was a clanging sound behind the central room. Lu Ping's eyes began to wander until he saw Rongxi Laozu's outstretched hand. A light blue flying sword suddenly appeared in Rongxi Laozu's hand. Rongxi Laozu sighed and said, The invisible sword, it really is the invisible sword. This sword has not gone through the thunder tribulation, nor has it been refined by anyone. It's just an instinctive invisibility. The old man's divine sense almost lost it just now. Rongxi Laozu pushed the flying sword in her hand, and the nether water sword once again lost track of it. However, it never escaped Lu Ping's divine sense. Lu Ping just stretched out his hand, and the flying sword reappeared in Lu Ping's hand. After fusing with the invisible companion's spiritual treasure, the quality of the nether water sword had improved qualitatively. Although Lu Ping was not good at refining, he still had a good eye for the quality of magic treasures. At this time, the quality of the nether water sword had far surpassed that of the thin water sword. The spirituality contained in the flying sword seemed to have reached the critical point of transformation. All it lacked was an opportunity, and this opportunity was undoubtedly the thunder tribulation that the owner of the magic treasure had summoned for it. The blue inner yuan on the nether water sword shone brightly. Under the shocked gazes of the two Dharma adepts, the nether water sword was refined by Lu Ping and kept in his heart space in just a moment. They were once again amazed by Lu Ping's strong inner yuan. After saying goodbye to the two Dharma adepts of the Huai sect, Lu Ping once again made a trip to Qingling Island. In the name of inviting Chu Haitian to participate in a private trade meeting between the third generation of adepts in Phantom City, he freed Chu Haitian from his punishment of being grounded. At the same time, he also brought along Chu Haiying, his follower. This private trade meeting was actually a gathering of the third generation of elite adepts who had advanced to the Dharma stage among the human and demon clans of the 5 islands of Phantom City. The initiators were the famous adepts of the major forces, led by Qin Shijun. Brother Chu, according to Brother Haiying, it seems that your clan is already collecting the materials needed to refine the spiritual water spirit drawing elixir. Lu Ping could not help but ask as the three of them were on the way to Phantom City. Chu Haitian was stunned for a moment, then said, They have indeed begun to collect the materials that Brother Lu has listed, but whether or not Brother Lu is required to help is still unknown. It seems that there is some dispute between the Sky Feather clan uncle and 6th grandfather Fu Yu Laozu. Oh! Lu Ping glanced at the slightly dispirited Chu Haitian. He did not know whether the two Laozus had a dispute over whether or not to refine the spiritual water spirit-drawing elixir, or whether it was because of Chu Hailan. However, it seemed that no matter which it was, Chu Haitian had exposed his feelings for Chu Hailan in front of the two elders this time, so he would not have a good time. So, how is the collection going? Lu Ping naturally would not care about the personal affairs of the green sea snakes, so he just asked casually. Chu Haishao thought for a moment and said, even though most of the things Brother Lu listed are rare and precious, with the strength of my Jade Sea Spirit Serpent clan, we should be able to gather almost all of them. Only that myriad profundity dew is slightly difficult. Wonder Jade Nectar? Lu Ping said in surprise. Although this item is rare, it is only of the heaven middle grade. With the heritage of the green sea snakes for tens of thousands of years, can't we gather one? Chu Haitian shook his head and said, it is difficult. This time, the reason why sixth grandfather let me participate in this trade fair, although it is said that Brother Lu is giving face, in fact, it is also to see whether or not I can obtain information about the Wonder Jade Nectar. Lu Ping's mind was already full of thoughts. Wonder Jade Nectar? Now, the thing that I lack the least is the Wonder Jade Nectar. Chapter 1070. During the battle on Qingling Island, 6 blood poison Shuras and 3 jade poison Shuras from the poison Shura tribe had died at the hands of Lu Ping and the other 5. However, the essence of the poison Shura itself was highly toxic, and no one else was willing to collect this essence. Even Chu Hairan, who was born as a green sea snake, did not have the time to collect the essence of the poison Shura after they had died. Therefore, these things ended up benefiting Lu Ping. The liquid in the green stone pool, which was unclear whether it was the 1,000 poison serum or the 1,000 poison source liquid, was like an insatiable Taodai at that time. After Lu Ping secretly opened the space door, it continuously absorbed the essence of the poison Shura after they had died into the green stone pool. These days, Lu Ping had been busy with all sorts of things and had not thought about this matter. Previously, it was only because Chu Hairan had mentioned that the green sea snakes were already collecting many precious materials to refine the spiritual water spirit-drawing elixir that he thought of the 1,000 Wonder Dew. However, when Lu Ping used his divine consciousness to check, he suddenly realized that the mass of 1,000 Wonder Dew in the green stone pool was even larger than when Lu Ping had first discovered it. Lu Ping roughly estimated that it was at least 4 to 5 portions of 1,000 Wonder Dew. Moreover, he saw that the 1,000 poison serum in the green stone pool was moving without any wind, and small whirlpools formed on the surface of the liquid. It was obvious that the 1,000 Wonder Dew was still condensing, and he did not know how many portions it would be able to condense in the end. Brother Lu, what will make you agree to exchange the 1,000 poison serum with me? After Qin Shijun had advanced to the mid-Dharma stage, all the third-generation adepts had felt the pressure. They knew that the second division between the third-generation adepts was just around the corner. Qin Shijun had already taken the first step, and the others naturally did not want Qin Shijun to take the lead, let alone someone as proud as Chu Haitian. Chu Haitian had long reached the peak of the early Dharma stage. If not for the fact that he wanted to take advantage of the opportunity of advancing to the mid-Dharma stage to successfully condense his second supreme power, he would have already passed the first lightning tribulation and condensed the mid-Dharma stage. Lu Ping smiled but didn't say anything. Chu Haishao pondered for a moment and said, Brother Lu, you've hinted to me that what you want me to do is extremely difficult. But after all these days, I'm sure Brother Lu already knows my status in the Jade Sea Spirit Snake Clan. Even Sister Hailan thinks that I can be of help. Is Brother Lu still not willing to tell me what it is? Lu Ping had saved Chu Haitian and Chu Haitian in succession, and he also had the 1,000 poison serum that Chu Haitian urgently needed to condense his second supreme power to pass the first lightning tribulation. Now that Feather Laozu had clearly asked for his help in order to recover his cultivation, if Chu Haitian's guess was correct, the 1,000 poison serum would most likely fall into Lu Ping's hands as well. Not counting the last matter, from Chu Haitian's point of view, he had already owed Lu Ping favors on at least 4 matters. However, even so, Lu Ping still did not tell him what he wanted him to do. This could only mean that what Lu Ping wanted him to do was extremely difficult. Even so, as long as Lu Ping did not say anything. For people like Chu Haitian, this was something that would always make him feel extremely troubled. He did not want to owe favors. As soon as Chu Haitian's voice fell, he saw a small jade bottle being thrown out from Lu Ping's hand. He said, "Brother Chu, it's not that I don't trust you, but this is really not a small matter. Of course, this matter will not harm the interests of your clan. I will definitely find a suitable opportunity to tell you, Brother Chu." Chu Haitian caught the jade bottle in his hand and shook it gently. There was a sound of liquid sloshing inside. His heart skipped a beat, and a trace of joy appeared on his face. He said, "Brother Lu, this is—" Lu Ping nodded and said, "To be honest, even I don't know if the thing inside is the 1,000 poison serum you need." Chu Haitian opened the bottle and asked, "Is this the magical item that broke the poison Azura's innate magical power?" Lu Ping nodded and said, "Yes, it is." After Chu Haitian opened the bottle, he poured out a drop of golden liquid. It spun in his palm and then seeped into his body through Chu Haitian's palm. Chu Haitian's face flashed with a hint of gold, and then his eyes suddenly opened. The joy on his face deepened, and he said, "It really is the 1,000 poison serum, and it's of the highest quality. Brother Lu, I'm afraid you've already refined many kinds of strange poisons into it, right?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "That's good. This jade bottle is a space container, and I don't know if the 1,000 poison serum inside is enough. However, when I got my hands on this item, it did contain a few famous poisons in the world of practice." Chu Haitian nodded and said, "It's enough. No wonder the quality is so high. With this item in hand, after this trade fair, I will attract my first lightning tribulation. As long as I successfully advance to the mid-Dharma stage, it will be a piece of cake to condense my second innate magical power." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Then I must congratulate you in advance, Brother Chu. After you advance to the mid-Dharma stage, your status among the green sea snakes will definitely increase. When that time comes, it will be even easier for me to ask for anything." This trade fair was a gathering organized by Qin Shijun and the others for the third-generation Dharma adepts. Although it was mainly for the exchange of information between the various sects, it was also for the exchange of information between the third-generation Dharma adepts of the human and demon races. At the same time, it also represented the sects and tribes that they belonged to. In the eyes of those who were interested, this gathering might be a preview for the future of the various sects and tribes of the East Sea. The location of the gathering was in the center of Phantom City, in an inn not far from the Phantom Palace. The inn was 3 stories high and was surrounded by a very good array. Today, the inn had been fully booked, and the trade fair was held on the 3rd floor. The human race had 1 holy land, 9 major sects, 25 medium-sized sects, and in addition to the large and small forces that had fallen in the secret territory, casual practitioners, and travelers, there were only 19 early Dharma adepts present. Among them, there were 12 third-generation Dharma adepts from the Crystal Palace in the 9 major sections. There were only 3 from the medium-sized sects, including Lu Ping. The remaining 4, other than Yuan Feixiang, were casual practitioners whose identities were unknown. The 3 major demon tribes and 12 tribes had nearly 17 third-generation elite adepts on the 5 islands of Phantom City. Among them, there were 8 from the 3 major tribes alone. The arrival of Lu Ping, Chu Haitian, and Chu Hiren immediately attracted the attention of most of the adepts. Qin Shijun personally welcomed them. Before he reached them, he laughed and said, "Brother Lu, Brother Chu, you 2 are late. You will be punished as usual." Of course, Yuan Feixiang seemed to have been talking to Qin Shijun earlier. The 2 of them had come out together. Hearing Qin Shijun's words, she smiled and said, "Brother Chu, you don't have to say much. You may not know this, but Brother Lu has always been known as the treasure boy in the North Sea. He is also a great alchemy master. If the 3 of you can't bring out a decent treasure today, we will not let it go." With the flattery of these 2, although many of the adepts present did not think much of Lu Ping, they did not want to disrespect Qin Shijun and Yuan Feixiang. With all kinds of thoughts, they all chimed in. In the Battle of Qingling Island, Lu Ping had shown brilliantly. At the Gap in the Matrix, he had joined forces with Qin Shijun and the other 5 to fight against the Azuras. The strength he had displayed was not inferior to any of them, and it had shaken the entire 5 islands. The impact on the other third-generation Dharma adepts was even more intense. One had to know that the 5 people who had fought against Lu Ping, excluding Lu Ping, were all people of high status. Not to mention Qin Shijun, Yuan Feixiang, who was the #1 expert of the top aristocratic family, had a status similar to Qin Shijun's. Even the adepts of the large sects had to show enough respect in front of Yuan Feixiang. As for Kong Qianjun and the Flame Coffin, they were the top figures among the Kuan Fish and Fire Phoenix clans. As for Chu Haitian, there was no need to mention him. The status of the Green Sea Snakes in the Demon Clan was comparable to that of the Crystal Palace in the Human Clan. Before Qin Shijun had advanced to the mid-Dharma stage, he had been on par with him. He was also the legitimate son of the leader of the Green Sea Snakes, Chu Feiyu, and the grandson of the previous leader, Chunyang Laozu, Chu Fanyun. Compared to the status of these 5 people, Lu Ping's status was like the difference between clouds and mud. He was just a practitioner of a middle-sized sect. No one knew what good luck he had, but he dared to call himself the boy of many treasures after getting a few decent magic treasures. It seemed that only in the poor North Sea would he be praised to the sky. However, when he entered the inn, he was walking with Chu Hai. It was obvious that their relationship was not shallow, coupled with the fact that Qin Shijun, Yuan Feixiang, and the others had personally come out to welcome him. Some cultivators had no choice but to retract the trace of contempt in their hearts. However, it also aroused the jealousy and dissatisfaction of some cultivators. Lu Ping naturally understood the expressions of the people around him. He smiled and said, "In front of all of you, my wealth is nothing. But Brother Qin and Brother Yuan are of noble birth, and you are the initiators of this gathering. I wonder what kind of eye-opening treasures you have brought us." Seeing that Lu Ping had easily kicked the ball back to him, Qin Shijun laughed and said, "It seems that Brother Lu can't wait any longer. Since everyone has arrived, then let's not waste time and begin." Everyone responded and went to the 3rd floor of the inn. The 36 Dharma adepts sat casually on the 3rd floor, leaving only a display stand at the top. All the practitioners present had to come forward and display at least one treasure for trade. Everyone sat down, and the innkeeper led the servants to serve fragrant tea and spirit fruits. However, Yuan Feixiang was the first to walk up to the display stand. A spirit prohibition box slowly opened, and from time to time, flashes of blue lightning burst out from a fist-sized stone, immediately attracting the attention of many practitioners present. I'll start first. This is a Sky Thunder Strange Stone from the collection of my Yuan family. It can also be considered a kind of natural treasure. It contains thunder and lightning, which is very beneficial to practitioners who practice thunder techniques. Let's use it to exchange for some top-grade spirit stones. Chapter 1071. The reason why the Yuan clan was able to become the #1 clan in the cultivation world. In addition to the powerful strength of the Yuan clan itself, the most important reason was the contribution of the Yuan clan's Peng bloodline to the cultivation world during the previous calamities of Mara, as well as the unique thunder magic power. The thunder magic power was the most destructive magic power to Mara among all the magic powers in the cultivation world, and the Yuan clan was the vanguard of the resistance against Mara during the previous calamities of Mara. The number of cultivators of the Yuan clan who had fallen in the previous calamities was unknown. It was precisely because during the previous calamities of Mara, the cultivators of the Yuan clan were all over the cultivation world to assist the human and demon races in resisting the invasion of Mara. Therefore, there was even a proverb in the cultivation world: when Yuan comes, Mara comes. It sounded as if the calamities of Mara came with the footsteps of the Yuan clan. Even so, the Yuan clan had always been prosperous in the cultivation world by virtue of their Peng bloodline and their unique thunder magic power. Moreover, because of their contribution to the cultivation world during the previous calamities of Mara, they had won the common respect of both the human and demon races. Therefore, since the 7th patriarch opened the sky, the Yuan clan had firmly occupied the position of the #1 clan in the cultivation world. Whether it was in terms of strength or contribution to the cultivation world, they were worthy of this title. As the number one person in the seventh patriarch, Pangdaoren was naturally an omnipotent existence. However, his most powerful magic power was undoubtedly the thunder magic power. Not to mention the famous number one divine weapon when opening the sky, the seven thunder treasures calabash. The reason why Pangdaoren was able to suppress Jiaodaoren and become the number one person in the seventh patriarch was because of the thunder magic power displayed by the seven thunder treasures calabash. Although in the cultivation world, except for the Yuan clan, which was known as the descendant of Pangdaoren, the other races could not practice the supreme thunder magic power, but the cultivators of the two races could still practice the great thunder magic power. It was just that the great thunder magic power often could not form a system of its own. It had to be attributed to the attribute of the cultivator's own cultivation method. For example, Lu Ping, who practiced the water attribute cultivation method, if he wanted to practice the thunder magic power, he could only condense the divine power seed of the Yin water divine lightning. Even so, the thunder magic power was still an extremely difficult magic power for ordinary cultivators to practice. If it was not for the help of the seven thunder treasures calabash, Lu Ping would not have been able to condense the Yin water divine lightning into a great magic power so easily. Of course, the thunder magic power could also use other external forces to speed up the cultivation or reduce the cultivation difficulty. The Heaven Thunder Wondrous Stone was one of them, and it was one of the more outstanding treasures. Especially in the face of Mara's crisis, with a thunder magic power in hand, coupled with a treasure that was suitable for using the thunder magic power, the effect was often comparable to the power of a supreme magic power, but the difficulty was much easier than condensing a supreme magic power. Furthermore, even if a thunder magic power was not used to deal with Mara, when fighting with others, it would still be one of the most powerful of the great magic powers. Otherwise, how could the Yuan clan have been able to stand tall in the cultivation world for tens of thousands of years without falling? All these aside, just the Sky Thunder Rare Stone itself, with just a little bit of refinement, would be an incredible defensive treasure. When it was detonated during a battle, the power that it would unleash would be something that even a mid-Dharma adept would have to avoid. Therefore, when Yuan Feixiang displayed the Heaven Thunder Wondrous Stone on the display stage, it instantly attracted the exclamations of the dozens of Dharma adepts present. A practitioner suddenly asked loudly from below the stage, "Friend Yuan, such a treasure. Are you really only using it to exchange for the best spirit stone?" Yuan Feixiang made a helpless gesture and said, "I am not an overseas practitioner after all, and the spirit stone mine of the 5 Phantom Islands is not for me to enjoy. I can only use this stone to exchange for some training supplies." Since the theft of the spirit stone mine of Yuanling Island had weakened the protective matrix of Chungling Island and was broken by Mara's army, the great practitioners of the human and demon clans in the Phantom Palace had made a decision, which was to excavate the spirit stone mine in a planned way and supply it directly to the practitioners of the various sects, in order to strengthen the cultivation and strength of the practitioners of the various sects, and to have more power to resist Mara's attack. And Yuan Feixiang and the other practitioners who did not belong to the 9 sects, the 25 forces, the 3 tribes, and the 12 tribes naturally did not have the right to enjoy the spirit stone supply. Other than the great practitioners of the Crystal Palace, the 9 sects, and the 3 tribes, there were probably very few people who knew that the Phantom Palace had to do this to balance the protective matrix of the 5 islands. Although the hidden danger caused by the theft of the spirit stone mine of Yuanling Island had been temporarily suppressed, it had not been eliminated. To fundamentally eliminate this hidden danger, the only way was to restore the balance between the 5 spirit stone mines. This was also the reason why during this period of time, except for the one on Yuanling Island, the other 4 spirit stone mines had reopened for mining. Of course, the Phantom Palace naturally would not explain this to the outside world. These things were verified by the jade slip left behind in Kong Wu's inheritance by Lu Ping. Then how many top-grade spirit stones does Brother Yuan want to exchange for it? You should know that there are many people here who want this Sky Thunder Fantastic Stone. Although the top-grade spirit stone is precious, the supply of the Phantom Palace has increased recently. I believe that everyone here has a few in their hands. Another Dharma adept said. At this time, Lu Ping was also determined to get this Sky Thunder Fantastic Stone. As for the top-grade Spirit Stones, what Lu Ping did not lack now was the top-grade Spirit Stones. After handing over the hundreds of top-grade Spirit Stones that had previously belonged to Zhenling to Tiankong Laozu for safekeeping, Lu Ping now had more than 1,000 top-grade Spirit Stones on him. Even a large sect share of the giant Spirit Stone mine on the Phantom Island was probably less than this. In the core space, the Seven Treasures Thunder Calabash began to jump up and down the moment the Sky Thunder Fantastic Stone was taken out. Finally, it was pressed down by the Dharma power of the dragon, and then it calmed down. Yuan Feixiang smiled and said, "The reason why I took out this Sky Thunder Fantastic Stone is that in this dangerous time, I hope that this stone can help one of you to master a great thunder technique. It can also be used to defend against Mars attack and increase our strength. In this case, this stone will be priced at 7 top-grade Spirit Stones." As soon as Yuan Feixiang called out the price, many of the adepts present shook their heads and gave up. Most of these adepts were individual cultivators or people from the 25 medium-sized sects or the 12 demon tribes. They might be able to take out 7 top-grade Spirit Stones, but after that, they would not have much left. To be honest, Yuan Feixiang's asking price was not high. After all, 7 top-grade Spirit Stones were only the price of a high-grade Earth-level spirit item. To exchange it for a great power was not a high price. All right, based on Brother Yuan's generosity, I will take this Sky Thunder Fantastic Stone for 8 top-grade Spirit Stones. The one who spoke was a Dharma Power adept from the Guangfa sect, a large sect in the South Sea. "Brother Yu, don't you think it's too easy to exchange for this strange stone with only 8 Spirit Stones? It just so happens that I'm also quite interested in this strange stone. I'll take all 9. The one who spoke was a 3rd-generation disciple from the Talisman sect, another large sect in the South Sea. The Guangfa sect and the Talisman sect had always been at odds. The direct descendants of these two sects would undermine each other. Many of the adepts present, even those who did not know the inside story, understood after a while. "Haha, the two of you, this treasure is not for sale to the two of you. This lowly one is also very interested in this item. This lowly one offers 10 pieces. A practitioner in green said loudly. This practitioner was surrounded by demonic chi. Obviously, he was someone from the 12 tribes. As soon as this demonic clan practitioner's voice fell, many adepts began to clamor. In the eyes of the current adepts, the thunder magical power was undoubtedly a delicious piece of cake. In just a moment, the price of this strange stone had been raised to 13 top-grade Spirit Stones. Some adepts even asked Yuan Feixiang if he was willing to exchange it for other treasures, or to exchange other treasures for top-grade Spirit Stones. Unfortunately, Yuan Feixiang smiled and refused all of them. Only then did the bidding slightly calm down. 15 top-grade Spirit Stones. A bid made the adepts in the pavilion quiet down a little. When everyone looked over, it was the North Sea adept Lu Tianping who had recently risen to fame. Yuan Feixiang smiled and said, "Brother Lu is also interested in this thing. As far as I know, Brother Lu has already mastered a great thunder magical power. During the battle on Changling Island, Brother Lu displayed the divine Yin water thunder to perfection. I am very impressed. A great thunder magical power that could be praised by the direct descendants of the Yuan clan was naturally not simple. It was at least the power of a natal great magical power. Among the natal great magical power, thunder magical power was generally difficult to condense. This also made the rumor that Lu Tianping had displayed his natal great magical power during the battle with Poison Azura much more believable. Many adepts inevitably looked down on Lu Tianping a little less. Although they looked down on him less, their jealousy did not necessarily lessen. In fact, it might even become more intense. Since Brother Lu has already condensed a thunder magical power, why are you still fighting with us for this sky thunder magical power?" Lu Ping looked over and saw that it was a Dharma adept from the Honghai Pavilion of the South Sea. As soon as he said this, many adepts immediately chimed in. Lu Ping smiled slightly and did not say anything to explain. Everyone's clamor was just hoping that Lu Ping would give up bidding. Seeing that Lu Ping was ignoring them, they also felt bored. Only the Honghai Pavilion adept looked coldly at Lu Ping, but did not say anything else. In the end, the Sky Thunder magical power was bought by Lu Ping at the price of 15 top-grade spirit stones. If converted to ordinary spirit stones, it was equivalent to a huge amount of 15 million spirit stones. With the treasures that Yuan Feixiang had displayed at the beginning, it was destined that the treasures that the adepts brought out at this trade fair would not be inferior. Sure enough, the adepts who came up to the stage to trade next all displayed extremely precious treasures. Even someone as experienced as Lu Ping felt that it was an eye-opener. In particular, the adepts from the East Sea Demon Clan displayed even more precious treasures. Many of them were even more precious than Lu Ping had ever heard of. Chapter 1072. Because Yuan Fei had used the Heavenly Thunder Wondrous Stone as a stepping stone, the quality of this trade fair was greatly improved. The following cultivators went on stage one after another, and although the treasures they displayed were not as good as the Heavenly Thunder Wondrous Stone, they were not too far off. As for the methods of exchange, there were even more diverse. Some auctioned directly with top-grade spirit stones, some bartered, and some used both. There were even auctions that used anonymous methods. Apart from the two parties involved, no one else knew what was being exchanged. Lu Ping had also found several items that interested him in the past few trades. He had tried to bid or barter for them, but in the end, the bids were either too high or the items he tried to trade weren't of interest to the other traders. Fortunately, although these treasures were tempting, they were not what Lu Ping urgently needed. Although it was a pity that he could not bid for them, it was just a pity. A piece of strange coral gold ore, weighing 23 kilograms, pure in quality, can be exchanged for 5 portions of Blood Demon Luo-level spiritual essence. Of course, if fellow Taoists like this item, you can also increase the price, and naturally, the highest bidder will obtain it. A female cultivator from the Demon Clan, dressed in clothes that looked like seaweed, placed a piece of alternating yellow and blue coral on the display stand. This person was from the bright-colored Snake Clan, one of the 12 clans of the East Sea. They were one of the most tyrannical forces among the 12 clans. Lu Ping was taken aback when he heard about the mutated coral metal. He had heard about the mutated coral metal from Chanlian before. It was an extremely rare spiritual material, especially when used to forge some water-attributed mystic treasures. It could greatly enhance the quality of the mystic treasure. When Lu Ping obtained it in the North Sea, he had given Chanlian 24 corals that contained various top-grade spiritual materials, and one of them contained mutated coral gold. When Lu Ping was upgrading the Aquaslite sword, Chanlian had refined a very small amount of exotic coral gold from the 24 corals into the Aquaslite sword. That was how the Aquaslite sword was upgraded to a spirit-nurturing level magic treasure. Chanlian had once told Lu Ping that exotic coral gold was a special spiritual material that could be used to upgrade a spirit-nurturing treasure to a spirit treasure. Unfortunately, it was extremely rare in the cultivation world. If Lu Ping had not obtained a companion spirit treasure with an invisibility effect, which allowed the water spirit sword to reach the level of a top spirit-nurturing treasure that could attract a thunder tribulation, Lu Ping would have searched for it to upgrade the water spirit sword. Although this piece of coral was just a coral exotic gold ore, even if it was pure in quality, it would be good enough to extract 2 to 3 grams of pure coral exotic gold from 23 kilograms of ore. But this 2 to 3 grams of coral exotic gold ore, although it did not need to be used on the Aquaslite sword now, if it was refined into the thin water-flowing sword, it would be enough for the pair of flying swords to reach the level of a top spirit-nurturing treasure. In the future, the possibility of attracting a thunder tribulation to become a spirit treasure would be greatly increased. What i.e., are you kidding me? Although this coral exotic gold ore is rare, you know what this means. It means that at least 7 or 8 blood Mara beasts have died in order to collect enough blood Mara essence. That's right, including Mara beasts' large-scale invasion of the fallen Mystery Land. Until now, when they have surrounded the 5 illusory islands, a rough estimate shows that the number of Mara beasts that have been killed by the combined forces of the human and demon clans is less than 100. But the human and demon clans have lost at least 50 to 60 Dharma Plane adepts. 5 complete blood Mara essence. Even if they had it, who would be willing to give it up? Generally speaking, Mara beasts were more powerful than the human and demon clans of the same level. However, Mara beasts usually had low intelligence. Although they were not afraid of death, they were unusually stupid. When fighting with the human and demon clans, as long as they did not encounter each other, the human and demon clans usually had the upper hand. However, Mara beasts often had the advantage in numbers. Because of this, even if the human and demon clans' combined forces could achieve twice the results, they would still be at a disadvantage. Huadier smiled coquettishly and said, "I only ask for a fair trade. If you think that the price I set is too high, you can ignore it." It was not easy to collect Mara essence. Even if a practitioner set up a trap to ambush a blood Shura, and there were no other Mara beasts to disturb them, they would be able to collect the essence in advance. It was already very difficult to collect 70% of the essence after Mara beast's death. What's more, it was basically impossible to encounter such a situation in a battle with a blood demon. Usually, it was rare to be able to collect 40 to 50% of the original essence of a blood demon. If he encountered a sneak attack like the one on Chungling Island, he could not even care about his life, let alone collect the original essence. Only people like Lu Ping, who carried a spirit treasure like Ling Long, had a special ability to collect the essence of a blood Shura. After the death of a blood Shura, if the timing was right, he could often collect 80 to 90% of the blood Shura's essence, far surpassing the methods of the other sections. However, Lu Ping had also heard that a few large sects and the 3 major tribes had a method to further purify the essence of Big Mara and replace the essence of blood Mara beasts. Lu Ping had confirmed this from Chu Haitian. However, these methods were naturally top secret. Although Chu Haitian admitted that such methods existed, he could not pass them on to Lu Ping. In this way, it could greatly make up for the shortage of the essence of blood Mara. However, when Hua Dai asked for 5 portions of the essence of blood Mara beast's level, many practitioners who were interested in the coral gold mine looked pained. Among them were practitioners from the 9 sects and the 3 major tribes. It could be seen that even if this kind of purification method existed, it must have many limitations, which made the essence of origin very scarce after purification. When Lu Ping was about to bid, Qin Shijun said with a smile, "The coral gold mine can only be found by luck. Although 5 portions of the essence of blood Mara beast level are valuable, I still have to fight for it." After saying this, he placed 5 spirit restraining bottles in front of him, which contained 5 portions of the essence of blood Mara beast's level. The Crystal Palace was rich and powerful. With Qin Shijun's status, it was not difficult for him to take out 5 portions of the essence of origin. As soon as Qin Shijun's voice faded, Kong Qianjun followed up with a loud voice. "I also have 5 portions of original essence Qi. Since Brother Qin has already spoken, I will add 2 pieces of top-grade spirit stones. What do you think?" The coral gold mine was a rare spiritual material that could be used to improve the quality of spiritual treasures. Naturally, these 2 people were not the only ones who wanted it. Chu Haitian also said, 6 portions of the essence of origin. Qin Shijun smiled and said, "It doesn't seem like the 2 of you also want it. In that case, I will also offer 6 portions of the essence of origin and 3 top-quality spirit stones. How about that?" Kong Qianjun touched his head. When he saw Huadi looking at him, he smiled honestly and said, "I will think about it first." Huadi looked at Chu Haitian again. A young cultivator beside Chu Haitian suddenly said, "May I ask what fellow Hua is going to do with the essence of origin? If it is to make the essence refining pill or the essence condensing pill, would it be possible for me to bid with these 2 pills?" Huadie's eyes brightened, and she smiled. "I forgot that fellow Lu Tianping is an expert in alchemy. Just as Lu Daoyu thought, I want the essence of origin to be used for alchemy. If Lu Daoyu bids with the pills, I will be more than happy to do so." Lu Tianping thought for a while and said, "Normally, 1 portion of the blood Azura's essence of origin can be used to make 2 cauldrons of essence refining pills for cultivation and 5 cauldrons of essence condensing pills to quickly recover one's vital energy. According to the 50% success rate, 1 portion of the blood Azura's essence of origin can be used to make 10 essence refining pills or 25 essence condensing pills. What do you think, fellow Hua. The smile on Huadie's face grew wider, and she said, "Not bad, not bad. Lu Daoyu is indeed an alchemy grandmaster. I admire you. If Lu Daoyu offers a higher price than fellow Qin, I will make the decision to trade this coral rare gold with Brother Lu." Her tone was slightly impatient, causing the other cultivators in the pavilion to look at her and criticize her secretly. Some of the Dharma adepts even had ugly expressions on their faces. Seeing this, Chu Haitian, who was at the side, hurriedly advised in a low voice, "Brother Lu, your estimate is too high. Normally, one portion of origin of essence is exchanged from an alchemy grandmaster with a 40% success rate. If you offer a 50% success rate, not only will your sect suffer a great loss, you might even become the enemy of the many alchemy grandmasters on the 5 islands of illusionary spirits." Lu Ping was slightly stunned. Only then did he realize that those cultivators with ugly expressions were alchemy grandmasters from his sect who had come to the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. Thus, he said, "Fellow Hua, you must be joking. My estimate of 50% success rate is already higher than the publicly accepted estimate of the alchemy grandmasters on the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. How can I offer a price higher than fellow Qin? How about this? If fellow Qin offers 6 portions of origin of essence and 3 pieces of top-grade spirit stones, I will offer 6 bottles of essence refining pills and 3 pieces of top-grade spirit stones. How about that?" As soon as Lu Ping said this, it was clear that the 50% success rate was based on his own sect's estimation and had nothing to do with the exchange rate for elixirs on the 5 islands of illusionary spirits. Many of the cultivators in the pavilion immediately relaxed. Seeing that a great bargain had slipped out of her hands, Hua Jie could not help but glare at Chu Haitian, who had reminded Lu Ping. Then, she smiled at Qin Shijun and said, "Fellow Qin, do you still want to bid?" Qin Shijun smiled bitterly and said, "If fellow Hua uses spirit stones as the price, then I have the confidence to compete with Brother Lu. But if you use elixirs as the price, then forget it." This was not to say that Qin Shijun's wealth was not as good as Lu Ping's. He was the first direct disciple of the Crystal Palace, a mid-Dharma adept. If he said that his wealth was not enough to compete with Lu Ping, even Lu Ping himself would not believe it. It was just that if he used Lu Ping's method of calculation, Qin Shijun would be at too much of a disadvantage and could only give up 6 bottles of elixirs and 3 top-grade spirit stones. This piece of rare coral gold was finally in Lu Ping's hands. Lu Ping secretly estimated that if he used the spirit fire smelting purification technique to purify this ore, he might even be able to extract 2 or 3 taels of rare coral gold from it. This way, it would be completely enough to improve the quality of the thin water-flowing sword. After the trade fair, he might have to trouble Rong Shi Laozu of the Huai sect. As long as the quality of the thin water-flowing sword was improved, the possibility of it surviving the thunder calamity and becoming a spirit treasure would increase greatly. Chapter 1073. In the world of cultivation, except for the 6 holy lands, almost all the large sects had risen during Mara's catastrophe and gradually accumulated a rich heritage and survived to this day. In the long history of the cultivation world, most of the sects that had perished were also because they did not handle the great calamity of Mara properly. Under the attack of Mara, they were either directly destroyed or suffered great damage to their vitality, gradually declining until they perished. Or they were struggling at death's door, clinging to the old and conservative. Therefore, whenever Mara's catastrophe came, although it was a disaster for the entire world of cultivation, for many sects, it was also an opportunity to break the old balance, take advantage of the situation, and reshuffle the cards to establish a new structure. And one of the most direct manifestations of this opportunity was the original essence after Mara's death, as well as the accompanying instruments, magic treasures, and even spirit treasures that were left behind. The original essence could replace spirit herbs, and in the hands of alchemists, it could be refined into elixirs that could enhance cultivation. Moreover, the effect was excellent, and the supply was far more abundant than spirit herbs. as long as one had the courage to risk life and death to kill Mara. As for the accompanying instruments, magic treasures, spirit treasures, and so on, although most of them would also disappear after Mara's death, there would always be some that were lucky enough to survive. When the number of Mara's deaths increased, these small probability events could often bring about a considerable number of drops. Therefore, when Mara's catastrophe came, it was often an excellent opportunity for the various sects to have sufficient resources for cultivation. Their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds, and the number of magic treasures and spirit treasures would increase explosively. During this time, Lu Ping had collected a lot of original essence through the Linglong wine cauldron, and in the process of refining elixirs for others, he had also accumulated a lot. However, after deducting the supply for his own cultivation and the supply for the sect's disciples, there was not much left after the 6 bottles of Dharma-grade essence refining elixirs were sold. However, because of Lu Ping's bid for the rare coral gold this time, it reminded many cultivators. Therefore, in the next few transactions, the Dharma-grade essence refining elixirs refined with the original essence of Mara's blood became the equivalent of the top-grade spirit stone. The trade fair continued. Many of the cultivators on the platform displayed more than just one item. Additionally, the cultivators who had already gone on the platform could also go on stage to display their items again. I believe that everyone has recognized it as well. It's a heaven-level mid-grade scarlet vulture flame. Needless to say, its firepower is powerful. Although it's not suitable for alchemy or weapon forging, it's suitable for smelting spiritual objects. It's also the flame of choice for cultivating several excellent magical powers after attaining the Dharma power. I believe that everyone understands its value. However, this time, I will be bidding in a blind auction. They can bid however they want, but the final decision is in my hands. Although the Flame Spirit Coffin didn't state the starting bid, if many of the cultivators present were interested in this flame, they wouldn't really want to offend the Fire Phoenix clan with a low price. As soon as the Flame Spirit Coffin finished speaking, more than 10 cultivators in the pavilion were visibly tempted. This flame was no longer of any use to most of the Dharma adepts present. Only some cultivators who practiced fire-based techniques might use it when they were practicing their natural mystiques. However, this didn't mean that the core forging adepts of their respective sects wouldn't be able to use it. A heaven-level mid-grade spiritual object was something that could only be encountered by chance. Once it appeared, they would try their best to fight for it. Lu Ping was a little tempted as well, but he didn't know what item he would use to bid for it. This kind of blind bidding method was the most troublesome. The key to winning this flame depended entirely on the Flame Spirit Coffin's will. However, the Flame Spirit Coffin didn't say what he wanted, and everything depended on the guesses of the bidders. Lu Ping saw that Chu Haitian, who was beside him, seemed to be preparing something as well. His heart skipped a beat as he recalled the day when he went to the Green Sea Snakes' encampment on Qingling Island. He had heard about the leader of the Fire Phoenix clan, the Flame Spirit Coffin's grandfather, Yin Jiuxiao Laozu, attempting to overcome his third lightning tribulation and achieve the pure Yang Dharma power. Lu Ping thought to himself, could it be that the treasures that can help in overcoming the lightning tribulation are one of his goals? However, Lu Ping thought about it again. The treasures that could help in overcoming the lightning tribulation with this flame would probably only be those that didn't have significant effects. Although a heaven-level spiritual flame was precious, compared to the importance of a lightning tribulation to a Dharma power adept, it was undoubtedly inferior. Regardless of whether it was true or not, Yin Jiuxiao's third lightning tribulation should be a breakthrough. Lu Ping reached his right hand into his left sleeve and fiddled with it for a while. He placed 9 golden nut fruits into a spirit sealing box and made a mark on it. Then, he used his spatial powers, and the spirit sealing box in his sleeve immediately disappeared. At the same time, on the stone platform in front of the Flame Spirit Coffin, a ray of light flashed, and a jade box appeared in front of him. At this time, there were already more than 10 boxes, jade bottles, and other treasures on the stone platform in front of the Flame Spirit Coffin. The Flame Spirit Coffin was opening and examining them one by one. From time to time, it would reseal the box that it didn't like, and then activate the teleportation mark on the box to return to the hands of the cultivator who had placed the bid. Going back and forth, except for the flame spirit coffin, no one knew the contents of each bid. Even if the flame spirit coffin knew the contents of each bid, it didn't know the identity of the cultivator who had placed the bid. One by one, the boxes were opened, left, or returned. However, Lu Ping didn't make a sound below the stage. In fact, this flame had already attracted almost half of the cultivators in the pavilion to bid, but no one had made a bid that matched the flame spirit coffin's expectations. In the end, after weighing the remaining boxes, a few more were returned. There were only 2 jade boxes left on the stage, and the teleportation mark left on Lu Ping's jade box had not been activated. At this time, the flame spirit coffin was clearly in a dilemma. The 2 jade boxes in front of him were attractive enough, but at this time, he could only choose one of them. In the end, the flame spirit coffin seemed to have made up his mind. He took out the treasure from one of the jade boxes and placed the scarlet vulture flame, which had turned into a bean-sized ball of flame, into it. He then activated the teleportation mark on the 2 jade boxes, and the 2 jade boxes disappeared at the same time, returning to the hands of the cultivators who had bid for them. With a flick of his sleeve, the jade box fell into Lu Ping's right hand, which was still in his sleeve. Lu Ping opened the jade box without batting an eyelid, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. The 9 golden nuts inside had been returned to him. It seemed that the flame spirit coffin had not been interested in his bid in the end. Just as Lu Ping was about to put the jade box into his storage magic tool, his spirit sense seemed to have discovered something. The moment he wiped the teleportation mark on the jade box with his right index finger, a line of words appeared on the jade box. An inexplicable look flashed in Lu Ping's eyes. He inadvertently glanced at the flame spirit coffin, who had walked down the stage, and happened to see that the flame spirit coffin seemed to be looking at the cultivators in the pavilion with a look of anticipation. Although the flame spirit coffin had not chosen the item that Lu Ping had bid for, it did not mean that he was not tempted. He had hidden a message under the mark on Lu Ping's jade box, hoping to conduct a private transaction with Lu Ping. This was understandable. Although Lu Ping was not sure how many people had participated in the trade fair, there were definitely many cultivators who had conducted private transactions with each other. At the very least, Lu Ping's spirit sense had captured traces of spatial fluctuations in the pavilion several times. At that time, the cultivators who were displaying their items on the stage did not blindly bid like the flame spirit coffin. Now that the flame spirit coffin was asking for Lu Ping's help, the initiative was naturally in Lu Ping's hands. Lu Ping pondered for a moment, and a subtle and unpredictable spatial fluctuation was emitted, returning to the teleportation mark left by the flame spirit coffin. Lu Ping used 12 golden energy pills to exchange for the flame coffin's mid-grade heaven-level spirit fire, the red lava flame, as well as a Fire Phoenix Clan secret technique, the burning sky technique. In terms of power, the red lava flame might not be as powerful as the scarlet vulture flame, but it was also a mid-grade heaven-level spirit fire. The red lava flame was very easy to use in refining tools, and it was one of the most beloved flames of the refiners. As for the great technique, the burning sky technique, Lu Ping had heard from Lu Qiner that it was a basic great technique of the Fire Phoenix Clan's secret technique, the art of flame rebirth. Usually, only those with the pure bloodline of the Fire Phoenix Clan could practice this technique. Cultivators of other clans and human clans who practiced fire element techniques would have their power reduced after practicing this technique. Lu Ping had just stored the crimson lava flame in the jade box in his sleeve into his interspatial mystic treasure and passed the scorching heavens flame art to Lu Qiner, who was in the golden house, when he heard Qin Shijun's laughter. "Brother Lu, you're next." Nearly 30 cultivators had taken turns on the stage since the start of the trade fair, and many of them were taking the stage for the second time. Now, it was finally Lu Ping's turn. Lu Ping smiled faintly, stood up, and walked towards the stage. Many cultivators in the pavilion looked at the only North Sea cultivator, their eyes filled with various thoughts. They wanted to see if this person, who was touted as a sword immortal, would have any new treasures to show to them. Lu Ping's divine sense was very sharp. The moment he stood up, he sensed the strange atmosphere in the pavilion. He knew that if he didn't take out a treasure that could hold the fort, Qin Shijun and Yuan Feixiang's praises would soon be met with overwhelming mockery and ridicule from the crowd. On the stage, Lu Ping calmly took out a spirit restriction box from his storage artifact. After opening it, a colorful brilliance burst out of the box. Oh, it's a 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman. Although it's rare, it's only average in this trade fair. After all, it's still far from the treasure boy I imagined. It's already very good. It's just a medium-sized sect from the North Sea. To be able to take out 3 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans, at least their foundation is not bad. That's right. Most of the great sects' inheritances regarding the restriction-breaking talisman are only up to the 5-color talisman. Only those large sects with a long history and deep accumulation can collect the 6-color talisman inheritances. According to legend, the complete 7-color restriction-breaking talisman inheritance can only be found in the 6 great holy lands. Back then, the 7th Patriarch of Heaven Creation was the #1 talisman maker in the Luan Taoist. This 7-colored restriction-breaking talisman was passed down by her. Could it be that the Fire Luan, Wood Luan, and Wind Luan have not inherited the complete 7-colored restriction-breaking talisman? I don't think I've heard of it. In the pavilion, many Dharma adepts were whispering to each other. These 3 5-colored seal-breaking charms were created after Lu Ping entered the Dharma adept realm. With the help of his improved cultivation base, his charm crafting skills had improved, and he had painstakingly created them. Every talisman paper that could bear the weight of the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman was a special item. Just like forging weapons, the creation of talisman paper was not easy. Although it was not as difficult as forging weapons, the process of creating talismans could consume a large amount of talisman paper. Lu Ping's talent in making talismans could only be considered above average, and he did not have the time to waste on creating talisman paper. The talisman paper that Lu Ping needed to create the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman had all been obtained from the talisman pavilion. Therefore, 2 of the 3 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans that Lu Ping had created were considered items that belonged to the sect. Just based on the value of these 3 talismans, they were already above average among the treasures that had been displayed today. Although they were not considered outstanding, they were enough to prevent the cultivators who wanted to see Lu Ping make a fool of himself from being able to mock him. However, occasionally, a few disdainful looks would pass by Lu Ping's face, pretending that they did not care. There are 3 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans. I don't need to say much about their effects. The items that you need to exchange for them are also very simple. Heaven and Earth spirit items that are above mid-grade Earth level, or supreme-grade spirit stones. Everyone is free to bid, but the final decision of the transaction lies in my hands. This was different from the blind bidding of the flame coffin. The flame coffin was unwilling to state what it needed, but Lu Ping limited the items that it needed to exchange to supreme-grade spirit stones and heaven and earth spirit items that were above mid-grade Earth level. Although the cultivators below the stage would not reveal their prices, they did not need to use their spatial powers to secretly trade with Lu Ping. Although Lu Ping did not lack supreme-grade spirit stones, Lu Ping did. Now, with the rapid expansion of the sect, Zhenling was even more lacking in heaven and earth spirit items. After some selection, Lu Ping finally reached an agreement with the Dharma adept from the South Sea Talisman sect. This cultivator, who had previously fought with the Guangfa sect's cultivator, used a portion of supreme-grade spirit stones and several mid-grade Earth-level spirit items to exchange for 3 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans from Lu Ping. Although the talisman sect was not like the East Sea's Purple Talisman Pavilion, which was purely based on the art of talismans, the art of talismans was also one of the foundations of the sect. Logically speaking, as a large sect, they should not be so interested in talismans like the 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans. Could it be that this sect did not even have the inheritance of the 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans? Just as this thought flashed through Lu Ping's mind, he heard a sarcastic sneer. The Guangfa sect's cultivator had indeed revealed the talisman sect's secret. Brother Xie, The dignified talisman sect has been a large sect for 3,000 years and is considered to be famous in the world of cultivation. How could you not even have the inheritance of the 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans? You really do not deserve the name talisman sect. The talisman sect's cultivator's face flushed red, but in the end, he snorted coldly and did not refute. Seeing this, the cultivator immediately sneered again. After the transaction of the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman was completed, the crowd then realized that Lu Ping was still standing on the stage and had not come down. It was obvious that there was still a second treasure to be traded. A trace of curiosity arose in their hearts. Could it be that this treasure boy still had another treasure to show to the crowd? Lu Ping took out a jade bottle from his storage instrument. Seeing the curious gazes of the crowd below the stage, Lu Ping did not open it immediately. Instead, he stretched out his right hand and drew lines of inner yuan in the air with his 5 fingers. These lines condensed into a bluish-purple talisman inscription in the air. Drawing talismans in the air. The 2 Dharma adepts from the Purple Talisman Pavilion and the Talisman sect were slightly taken aback. To be able to master such a secret talisman drawing technique, one must have reached a certain level of proficiency in talisman making. Furthermore, one must also have an extremely fine control over one's inner yuan and divine will to be able to do so. The 2 of them thought that they had already mastered the art of drawing talismans in the air long before they had advanced to the Dharma stage, so it was not that surprising. However, for Lu Ping to be able to draw such a detailed talisman in the air and take such a long time to condense it, even if the 2 of them had already condensed their Dharma powers, they could barely do it. It was a far cry from Lu Ping's casual demeanor. It was not that the 2 of them were inferior to Lu Ping in talisman making. It was just that the density of their inner yuan and the level of their divine will were too low. The 2 of them could immediately tell that the talisman Lu Ping had drawn in the air was a forbidden talisman. It could temporarily open up a space in the air and was usually used to display treasures that were not easily exposed to the outside world. A round, purple gold elixir rolled out of the jade bottle and into the space opened up by the forbidden talisman. Qin Shijun suddenly stood up from his seat and stared at the elixir that was trapped in the forbidden talisman. He cried out involuntarily, "A purple gold longevity elixir that can extend one's life by 30 years. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.